Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's probably going to be 2 more streams of episode 5. I'm not really sure. That might sound off the mark, and, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. I won't say too much. I'm really just point taxing you every time. I know you're going to resummon, but, you know, gotta go through the motions. Alright. So I think today, maybe after what, like 5 or 6 streams of episode 5, we'll make it to the second Twilight. Jeez. What a pace. Okay, so... Right. We just done stuff with the first Twilight. Erica was bullying Iron Maiden for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, because they failed her. And I guess now she's going to do some logicking about the first game, the first Twilight, even though it's over. Not really sure, actually. But I stopped as soon as I saw this was going to be like a proper scene. Well, that's okay. I'm done. My anger's finally settled down and my little gray cells are tingling again. Please call those 2 useless people back and reconstruct the sign cream. The crime scene. Let's start the reasoning game. Understood. Gertrude, Cornelia, as you wish. The 2 of them reappeared behind Eleanor and reconstructed the crime scene for Erica, the one who had just been tormenting them. Kinzo's disappearance was nothing more than a bonus round after the first Twilight. Right, we were actually talking about Kinzo's disappearance, not the first Twilight. We haven't actually gotten to the first Twilight yet, because we spent 2.5 hours in Kinzo's room arguing about whether or not he jumped out the window. The conclusion was, wouldn't put it past Grandpa. Before we do that, did you realize we were actually given a riddle before the murders even occurred? Yes, the letter with the mark of the one-winged eagle which appeared at midnight last night, along with a knock by some person. That's right. The tale creates the illusion that the events of that instant would be impossible for any human, making it seem like an unknown witch exists. Let's start by crushing this illusion of the witch. We'll first check the situation at the dining hall last night when the letter was delivered. Understood. Gertrude, Cornelia, reconstruct last night's family conference at the dining hall. So I guess they can do like the cool reconstruction thing from Ace Attorney Investigations. It's a neat thing in those games. As you wish. The family conference last night was held with the adult relatives and Battler. And partway through, the servants had arrived to serve tea. Let's check everyone's location on the instant the letter arrived. How did that go again? Good thing she has photographic memory. Please, allow me to speak. Before the family conference, Erica, George, Jessica, Maria, Nanjo, Goda, and Kumusal left the mansion and moved to the guest house. So to sum that up, that's all the cousins except Battler. It's, the servants besides Shannon and Cannon and Genji, and also Nanjo's not really a servant or anything, he's kind of his own category, but him too, so they moved to the guest house. So that leaves Battler, the adults, Shannon and Cannon, and Genji. Where is Genji? Oh yeah, he was like out in the hall at one point with Kraus and Natsuhi, so he's probably in the room right now. I don't know. Please, allow me to speak. Of those who remain, only Kraus, Natsuhi, and Genji were in the second floor corridor. Yep. Well, all others were in the dining hall. So far, looks like only they could have delivered the letter. Because the family conference was proceeding, and the mansion was completely locked, all other humans were unable to enter the mansion. Aha, that'd mean there was no one inside the mansion who could have knocked and placed the letter there, right? Hehehe. Yes. The witch side will probably claim that the one who did this was the witch who wrote the letter, Beatrice. Ridiculous. A stupid trick. There's no guarantee that the letter was placed there at exactly midnight. It's only sensible to consider that it might have been placed there earlier. Just a few minutes before the letter was discovered, Shannon and Cannon came in to serve tea. When they entered, multiple witnesses confirmed that there was nothing suspicious like a letter in the hallway. Maybe one of those not in the parlor, Kraus, Natsuhi, or Genji, simply saw their chance right after that and placed the letter there. No, wait, it should be possible for the people who supposedly went to the guest house, too. We heard that the mansion was locked up and that no one outside could get in. But if someone pretended to have gone to the guest house and instead hid inside the mansion, it would have been perfectly possible for them to place the letter there. Who's she even gonna argue with here, actually? Is she just gonna go back and forth with Delanar? Allow me to speak. Bluetooth valid. I guess. All these guys. In that case, the problem is the knock. Unlike the letter, someone would have to exist there at the instant of the knock. I see, so this is the so-called proof that a person who shouldn't be there, a witch, existed. This is just so ridiculous. Do they think I, Furuta Iraka, would surrender to something like that? First off, we can doubt whether the knock was even something hitting the door to the dining hall at all. For example, there may be a certain pillar on the second floor, which, because of how the mansion's constructed, makes a noise when struck that gets transmitted down the pillar, and that sounds just like a knock on the door to people in the dining hall. Or they could have misheard some random sound to be a knock. They all misconstrued it in the same way. Miracles happen. Or the recorded sound of knock could have been stealthily replayed from a tape, which might have been carefully set up to go off at exactly that time. Either way, I can think of many ways to make them hear a knock, even if no one was on the other side of the door. I like the background graphics. I like the diagrams and stuff. I think diagrams in mystery games are good. I want more of them. Danganronpa is good. It has a ton of them. Good. Diagrams, thumbs up for me. I like them. How was that, my master? How was my reasoning? Laugh at her, laugh at her. That's what she says. So what do you think? Well, it looks like your cute piece gave it all thinking of these Bluetooths, so I guess it'll be nice and give it a few reds. I guess I'll start with a letter. We both have the knock made. No, we have both the knock made when the bell of the large clock rang out at midnight, and the letter sitting there in an envelope bearing the one-winged eagle crest when the door was opened. It's so obvious to suspect that the people who went in the parlor secretly placed the letter there, right? Kraus, Natsu, and Genji did not even touch that letter. Oh, then when Shen and Ken came in to serve tea, who was the last human to enter the dining hall? Let's say it was Cannon. Wouldn't it be easy if Cannon, the last person in, secretly dropped the letter there when he closed the door? Not a single person in the dining hall. No, there's a simpler way to say it. Among all those inside the mansion at midnight, not a single person placed that letter in the corridor. So you can't say that no one touched it. Obviously, they touched it when they picked it up. Of course I couldn't say that none of them touched it. I see. Then let's interpret it this way. Someone who existed outside the mansion at midnight placed a letter somewhere other than the hallway beforehand. Then, it was moved by some means and ended up placed in the hallway. It could have been, like, taped to the bottom of the serving cart and fell off or something. Oh, hey, looks... Okay, I didn't actually remember that she was going to say that. I promise. Just as an example, let's say it was stuck to the bottom of the serving cart the servants were pushing. It was simply glued there in a way that would make it come unstuck after a certain amount of time. When it eventually fell off, it became the letter left behind by a witch who shouldn't have existed. In other words, this is a classic trick where the true sender gives themselves an alibi by making the letter appear at a different time. Allow me to speak. Bluetooth valid. Ooh. In other words, the fact that it landed just outside the dining hall door was just the culprit's good luck. At worst, it might have happened in the kitchen, the corridor, or even inside the dining hall. Oh, good though. If it had happened inside the dining hall, that would have been even more wonderful. Within everyone's sight, a letter would suddenly appear on the floor. And that wouldn't even violate a red truth saying no one in the closed room of the dining hall touched the letter unexpectedly. Well done. If the letter was stuck to the bottom of the serving cart, then anyone could be the culprit. That might work okay regarding the letter. However, will that same type of argument apply to the knock as well? Let's try this again, shall we? Please, go ahead. Neither Kraus nor Natsu nor Genji knocked. This isn't the limited meaning of them knocking on the door, okay? It means they didn't use a pillar to transmit the sound, or push the play button in a cassette tape they'd recorded, or create that knock sound by any means. Of course, this applies to direct, indirect, intentional, coincidental, and unintentional means. This switch has already been knocked in, but I'll repeat it. Maybe someone other than Kraus, Natsu, or Genji made that knock, or else a sound that could be misidentified as a knock. I like how thorough they're starting to be, because we've gone over a lot of these little tricks and wordplay things already. Please, allow me to speak. Let it be known that at midnight, excepting Kraus, Natsu, and Genji, in the second floor corridor and all the people in the dining hall, no humans existed inside the mansion. Please, allow me to speak. Let it be known that in addition to Kraus, Natsu, and Genji, none of those in the dining hall knocked on that door. In a sense, knock includes all direct, indirect, intentional, unintentional, and coincidental events that could create a knock. It is kind of turning into like legal jargon slowly, isn't it? It reminds me of how, like late in one of the Ace Attorney games, which one was it? I think it was Dual Destinies. Instead of like a murder case, you get like a stolen property case, and it's like just It's a bit more boring than some of the other cases, but that makes it kind of interesting that it's just kind of distinct. I think it probably eventually turns into murder. I don't actually remember, but at least it starts out as that, and it's kind of cool. A direct knock refers to someone literally hitting a door to make a knocking sound. An intentional knock refers to... We have to define all these, huh? An intentional knock refers to someone creating a fake knocking sound to try and make it appear that someone knocked. An unintentional knock refers to someone unintentionally creating a fake knocking sound. A coincidental knock refers to some kind of coincidence creating a fake knocking sound. No, you forgot one. I thought there was a fifth one. Direct, indirect, intentional, unintentional. Okay, you don't mention indirect, but whatever. We know what it means. In short, this means it was impossible for any character within the mansion to be the source of a knocking sound. And any character refers even to unobserved people that no one has noticed. Anyone who was in the mansion would also include any unknown person X who had snuck into the mansion. Therefore, it literally meant it was impossible for anyone inside the mansion to knock, with no wordplay allowed. I see. No matter how much I toy with it, it's impossible for anyone except those in the guest house group to create the knocking sound, right? Like me, for example. What if I, put it to Erica, recorded a knocking sound on a cassette tape, and used some kind of secret contraption to start playing it exactly 24. It's after midnight. You could just throw a rock at the wall, maybe. Of course, I wasn't in the mansion at midnight. There aren't any problems with this, are there? No problems. However, though the knock did serve as a way of informing them about the letter on the other side of the door, I do not think it would have worked if the letter had fallen elsewhere. If the trick in Erica's theory about the letter being stuck to the serving cart was accurate, then the location that the letter fell was a matter of luck. Because it fortunately fell near the door, the people in the dining hall noticed it due to the knock. However, if the location it fell was a matter of chance, it might have landed in the far-off kitchen, or remained stuck even after they entered. If that had happened, the knock would have been ignored, as though they just imagined it. In other words, the knock by itself wouldn't transmit any message at all. It only made it appear as though someone had been there because it was paired with a letter. In that case, the random location the letter fell off the bottom of the serving cart couldn't be connected with the knock. For the letter to be found thanks to the knock, it would have to be reliably positioned on the other side of the door. However, it was announced in red that no one in the mansion placed the letter in the hallway. I'll reword that red about placing it in the corridor a bit. No one in the mansion placed the letter in the hallway. This includes doing so by all concepts, such as directly, indirectly, intentionally, coincidentally, and unintentionally. For example, let's assume there was a device in the serving cart that drops the letter when it stops moving. In this case, you'd think they could predict that the cart would probably stop just once when those two knocked on the door to the dining hall. And by doing so, they'd cleverly make it so the letter drops right in front of the door. But even this doesn't work, okay? The action of stopping the serving cart would indirectly lead to placing the letter in the hallway. That would mean Shannon and Cannon, who are pushing the cart, had indirectly and unintentionally placed the letter there. So even this is no good. Furthermore, setting it up so that the letter peeled off with the passage of time would mean that the people pushing the serving cart had coincidentally and unintentionally placed the letter there. Of course, this is also no good. Repeat it. At midnight, only Erica, George, Jessica, Maria, Nanja, Goda, and Kumasawa exist outside the mansion. What if someone in the dining hall didn't exist in the mansion right at midnight? For example, what if they'd slipped out a window just before? With this wordplay, it might be possible to get around the red truth. Repeat it. Even though I'm nice enough to give you all this red for free, aren't you being a bit greedy? I'm not an idiot like Beto, so I won't go around saying everything my opponent tells me to repeat. I'll give you a full body massage in a bath with marshmallows and confetos sometime soon. Enough to rub your skin off. Now you've got to keep that promise. Okay then, here's a freebie. I'll respond. At midnight, only Erica, George, Jessica, Maria, Nun, Joe, Goda, and Kumasawa exist outside the mansion. In other words, no matter how much they struggled, those 8 people, including Erica, could not have existed inside the mansion, much less in front of the door. And at the same time, no matter how much they struggled, those inside the mansion could not have existed outside the mansion. No one can be in the door frame, both inside and out, I guess. In that case, the letter might have been stuck to the ceiling of the hallway instead of the serving cart. The ceiling of the hallway is surprisingly high, so even if you just stuck it there out in the open, maybe no one would notice it. This way, it would certainly fall within the corridor, and you can slip by the red if someone outside the mansion did this. Good job, me. Please allow me to speak. The letter never existed on the ceiling of the hallway. Please allow me to speak. Know that the letter never touched the serving cart. You could attach the letter to the door. You could just put the letter on the door, and we could just assume that everyone out in the hallway knew about the letter, or they purposely ignored it, or didn't see it somehow, right? My blue truth. Who cares about that? Anyway, some human outside the mansion used some kind of trick to place the letter there. If you try to use that letter in the knock to argue that Beatrice exists, it definitely won't work on Fruto de Erica. Please allow me to speak. It wasn't possible for anyone outside the mansion to influence anything inside the mansion after the family conference began. Then someone outside the mansion set up some kind of device before the family conference. Something other than sealing the serving cart. Allow me to speak. Blue truth, invalid. Why? That's the only way, right? Someone outside the mansion used some kind of device other than sealing the serving cart. Allow me to speak. Unless you can specify or theorize as to what that something might be, your blue truth will not be acknowledged. Allow me to speak. All of Lady Erica's blue truths regarding the letter have been lost. They've all been lost, you say? Watch your tongues a bit more, useless furniture. If I can just think of that device, it's an instant checkmate. What do you mean, all of them? What do you mean my blue truth is invalid? How dare you say such a thing to me? The detective... Erica. Erica's face twisted. These words that seemed to deny Erica, no, Erica's reasoning, were the worst form of torture and humiliation for her. Miss Erica, why don't we postpone the riddle of the letter for now? Your blue stake about someone outside the mansion playing with a cassette tape is still valid. If it was possible for sound, then perhaps it wasn't impossible for a letter as well. I mean, you could say something like, I don't know, the letter was there on the floor the whole time. Well, no, you can't say that, like, someone uncovered it somehow, because that would be unintentionally and, like, unconsciously revealing it, so I guess not. So again, I'm thinking someone outside the mansion stuck it to the door earlier. Like, on the other side of the door that was supposedly knocked on. Just fell off. It's the same thing as the ceiling, but they didn't say in red that you can't use the door, right? As Erica made to grab and pull Gertrude's hair, Donor stopped over those words. That's right, my blue truth regarding the knock is still valid. It's not true that everything's been denied. My master, I will solve the riddle of the letter without fail. Please, allow me to postpone that for now. However, I will definitely figure out the riddle of the knock here. I pitch you with a blue stake that someone outside the mansion set things up with a cassette tape, or something to make a knock sound play. You really are a cute kid, piece of Barons. Lots of spunk. Anyway, Erica's yelling that you forgive her, because she solved one of the two riddles, even though she resigned on the other. So will you forgive her? Sure. Normally, I'd never forgive my own piece for the shame of surrendering. But if you manage to solve one of the riddles, I guess I'll let it slide for now. But my master... When Bren Costello said she'd let it slide, Erica couldn't hide her relief. Then it's time to get punished, Eric-chan. None of the characters misidentified a knocking sound. Oh? What's that supposed to mean? Misidentifying a knocking sound means this. They would not mistake a sound very similar to a knocking sound for a real knocking sound. Hitting a pillar to make something similar to a knocking sound is no good. When you record a knocking sound on a cassette tape and play it back, it becomes the sound of the tape with a knocking sound on it, and not a knocking sound. So that's no good either. This is basically a legal jargon argument to Izu. We're defining what a knocking sound is. We're defining intentionally doing something and unintentionally doing something. And they're just arguing over kind of unimportant stuff compared to the actual murders. But it's fun. In other words, every one of them would correctly recognize a knocking sound of something truly hitting the door, and they definitely wouldn't mishear it. It's totally impossible that any sounds except hitting that door directly would be misinterpreted as a knock. But what the? That means at the time the bell sounding midnight went off, no one existed who could have hit the door. Yeah. Yep, they don't exist. After all, the Golden Witch Beatrice hit it. So in other words, there's no way to make it work unless you actually hit the door. So what about this? There was some kind of device that could knock on the door. There was something like an automatic door knocker, and that made it possible to knock without touching the door with your hands. To knock means someone hitting a door with their hand, right? I would accept hitting it with some device. They heard a knock at the same time as the midnight bell. At that time, everyone inside the dining hall definitely heard it. And none of them misinterpreted a knocking sound. Kras, Natsu, and Genji were not involved with the making of a knocking sound. No one else existed inside the mansion. I wish it would, like, show us all the reds at once regarding this, so we know that it wasn't those three. Do we have... I know we have Red saying that no one inside the mansion placed the letter. Do we have Red saying that no one in here made the knock? Like, in the room? In the hall or whatever? And knock refers to the sound of standing directly in front of a door and hitting it with a hand. Hey, Burn. What do you think of my Red? Don't you think this is pretty simple and enjoyable despite being before the first twilight? The Golden Witch made a graceful appearance with a knocking sound. It does say a hand. You could totally take someone's hand and knock, but that would still be you making the sound. By the definitions we're being given so far. But I guess if you throw hands at the door, well, technically that means someone outside the mansion could have a window open. If they had cut someone's hands off, they could have thrown one hand knock, second hand knock, to make a knock knock sound on that door, right? You know, the unbelievably here, the plausible deniability here, that would mean that someone threw, like, dismembered hands down the hall past Natsuki, Genji, and Kraus, and apparently they didn't think anything strange about that. But maybe they were in on it. Interesting. This really is riveting, Lambda. Wouldn't have it any other way. Yes, how amusing. The two witches doubled over laughing as though this was the most fun thing in the world. Gah. My master, don't worry. If you just give my little gray self some time, I will definitely reach an answer to this pitiful Red. You're nothing but a lowly piece. Your absence wouldn't hinder my progress in this game in the slightest. If you can't think of any theories in particular, please just go back to the peace tray and gather dust or something. Useless pieces are painful even to remember. After all, Burn's pretty forgetful. If you don't try a little harder, Burn's gonna forget you, okay? You'll collect dust in that forgotten peace tray, awaiting your turn that'll never come. I imagine that'd be pretty harsh, don't you think? Don't worry, Lady Lambda Delta and my master. I promise that I'll keep you entertained and never let you down again. Oh, how reassuring. I guess you're my double after all. Then make sure you really are giving it your all, in more ways than one. If you don't make an impact, I might forget all about you. As the two witches giggled, they continued discussing the letter and the knock. There was no room for Erica to step in. If she contented herself with that, she would literally have no place to go, and be buried in an eternal oblivion. Erica entered this with a hideous expression, looking with shame at the back of the master who ignored her. And with both fists clenched, she fought frantically in search of some kind of breakthrough. I'm the detective. I'm Furuta Erica. I'm the peace and double and servant of the great Lady Berncastel. That didn't make her satisfied. Satisfied. Definitely. Ah! She'd made a battler. How dare you humiliate me so? As she stood there, ignored by the witches and shrouded in the darkness, it looked like someone had told her to go stand all alone in the hallway. Deserved Erica loss. Can never have enough Erica losses. Let's see, I think I still have her somewhere here. Oop. Now, the question is, would a member of the family misidentify someone dressed as Matt Patton? I have seen no red truth saying as much. With the crime in the early morning, we'd completely forgotten about breakfast. So we now had our first meal of the day at a time that could never be called breakfast time. Even Goda-san's wonderful meal, which had supposedly been in the works since yesterday, provided no comfort. The several empty seats quietly burdened us with a pain-filled sadness. Then, in the middle of this meal that felt like a vigil, Erica suddenly stood up. Everyone focused on her to see what was the matter. Her expression was somewhere between relief and insanity, as though she'd made some groundbreaking and strange discovery. Hey, what's up? Are you okay? I've got it! Did you think I wouldn't understand? Yes, I've got it. There's no way something that stupid could happen. With a hideous expression covered in cold sweat, Erica glared and lashed out at Battler. Imagine you're just having dinner, or like breakfast with your family, and just slam the table and stand up, and you're like, I did it! I solved Umineko! And everyone just looks at you. That's pretty much what this is. What do you get? There's no way you jumped down from the third floor study. Not one of us saw you fall down and land in the courtyard. When you set up the ladder from the courtyard and saw Rudolph's sound go up it to the third-story window, you closely observed the construction of the outer wall. You realized that by cleverly using a rain gutter, it might be possible to go down to the courtyard from the third-floor window. You didn't jump down. You used a rain gutter or something clumsily wriggled down the outer wall. What do you think of my bullet truth? Come on, what's your counter-argument? My counter-argument? You don't have a counter-argument? Then my truth is valid, right? Hey, did you see that? Trying to look cool and making it look like you jumped down was all an illusion. You just jumped out and latched onto a rain gutter. My argument then was about whether it was possible for Grandfather to escape from the study, right? And it was possible for Grandfather to escape through the window. All I did was prove that. Whether it jumped down or crawled down, that doesn't change anything, does it? Don't try to change the subject. I mean, a human can't jump down from the 3rd floor. Did you see that? Did you see that? What do you think of my reasoning, my master? Are you tired or something? Just calm down and eat some food. She's just doing this to piss him off and humiliate him at this point. This doesn't help her arguments at all. She's just trying to, like, ruin his cool scene just to be an asshole. Which she is. She is. When he escaped to the courtyard through the window, Fowler really did use the rain gutter to crawl down the wall, just like Erica said. His hand had slipped halfway, and he'd fallen from a considerable height, but he had managed to land on his feet. No one had witnessed this, but most likely, everyone in the dining hall now except Erica had realized that something like this had happened. I mean, to be fair, even if Kinzo jumped out and died, I don't think we had any sort of truth saying that nobody could have moved his body and hidden it. Granted, yeah, that's not going to make Nazi look very good either, if she like, did that, but point is, it would have advanced the argument, right? That's really what it's all about. Since the very beginning, no one had believed that he jumped down through the 3rd floor window. Yeah, Bauer constructs a vehicle to cross from one roof to the other, then gets grabbed off midway, huh? That would never happen. Even if they hadn't witnessed that directly. So they had no clue what Eric was complaining about all of a sudden. And started to whisper, staring at her with cold eyes and dubious faces. You can't counter that, can you? You jumping down has already been denied. My truth has won. My blue truth is valid. Mind you, she's like saying like blue truth and stuff out loud at this point. In front of all the other characters who have no idea what she's talking about, I'm pretty sure. My master, please acknowledge this. I'm not incompetent or a disappointment. I will match up to your expectations without fail, so please don't abandon me, my master. Facing someone that might have been beyond the ceiling, Erica spread her arms and yelled. Then, as if an answer, a massive lightning bolt landed very close by. It was an incredible sound. They could even feel the earth shake. At the same time as that sound, Erica went limp and fell into her seat. I didn't remember that that's my very first character dying. People paid more attention to this stuff than me. I do remember a lot of that stuff, mind you. Erica went limp and fell into her seat, like a puppet who just had all its strings cut. I don't think I'll ever forget that Zombo frog that just, like, kind of pretty much one-tapped me. That's probably, like, the most traumatic one for me. It was just there when I opened my door and went outside in the morning. Then, as the sound of wind and rain slowly filled the room once again... Oh, and it had, like, 1 pip of HP. But my character was just in so much pain from getting tongued that they couldn't kill it. It's since that point that, in that kind of situation, if I know, like, the game's gonna bullshit me with pain and not being able to hit something, I will drop something flammable under its feet. I will tank damage for, like, 5-10 seconds, however it takes, to set a fire underneath them. And I will make a last stand there against that thing. And if I survive it hitting me, and it dies to the fire, I win. Sometimes I have to crawl away with a couple missing limbs, but I win. And I might survive. That has gotten me out of so many situations, actually, just setting fire to something. You're up against, like, a zombie soldier or something, you know, anything armored or, like, tanky or even anything that dodges, like an abomination. Set on fire. Just put something flammable under its feet. You can sometimes get out of bad situations like that you'd never expect to. Yeah, yes, in real life, of course. Then she continued eating in silence as though nothing had happened. As if she had been acting normally the whole time. Didn't Erica just stand up and suddenly yell something strange at someone? Automatically, enough to make one dot their eyes, Erica continued eating quietly as though everything was perfectly normal. When they saw how ordinary she looked, everyone convinced themselves that they were totally worn out, and that they must have just seen some illusion of Erica suddenly yelling. So Erica's sudden transfiguration of a few seconds ago was treated as a daydream. That's lucky for her, and faded out of everyone's memories. Erica quietly poked at her salad and muttered in a voice no one could hear. Thank you very much, great Lady Brincastel. I'm Frodo to Erica. I'm my master's piece and her double. I'll most certainly present you with an incredible tale. That's right, when it comes to utensils, knives and forks are pretty primitive. Chopsticks are the best. Don't you think chopsticks are the easiest way to eat salad? Well, everyone. It's one of the stranger scene transitions. Just meeting some stuff in Discord. I do not know how to use chopsticks now. I have no idea. I would totally humiliate myself. I'm not really familiar with like Asian food in general, actually. Our son returned to the guest house at 3 AM. Then the rest of you split up about 30 minutes later, right? Yes, that's right. Drowsiness was finally starting to catch up to us. We decided to take a short rest and then start up again. I think we might finally be at the part where they're about to start, like, pinning the first Twilight Nazi and stuff. Yeah, actually, you'd really expect that Kinzo would have that. I guess they've just got him as backup. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of stuff that you'd want to use chopsticks for, like Asian dishes that Goda might want to make. And keep in mind, he's cooking for a lot of people that aren't just Kinzo, so, I don't know. Also, he's been dead for a while. To smoke at the murder of the first Twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed, took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive. Though she was an uninvited guest, everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way she played the detective. It seems Erica is also steadily building a foundation. It's useless. Whether alibis exist or not, she can't deny her existence. Kinzo escaped through the window and is now one with the mists of Rakenjima. She most certainly won't be able to capture or deny him. When all is said and done, perhaps you could say he's escaped to the underside of the chessboard. In that case, maybe it would be appropriate to say he's been stowed away. When I think of it, about those corpses from the first Twilight. They've been stowed away too, right? Yes. They've been put away in my darkness, which lies between this world and the next. And that detective wannabe won't be able to find them. Of course she won't. It'd definitely be impossible for a human. Want to check? Just in case. And we also need to re-examine what Lady Brincastel's goals will be from now on. If you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. If you know the truth, you can win 100 battles without fighting. My. Gap opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow them up. She invited Beato and Runaway to the gap between worlds where she'd hidden the corpses. That place was nowhere in this world, and existed at no time of this world. In other words, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. In this place, questions such as, where is this, and what time is it, have no meaning. Every single piece led to here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here. In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. No, perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where pieces that have left the game go. Then, through the pitch-black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and 5 corpses came into view. The 5 pitiable corpses, where their necks sliced open, had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut, and their hands joined. Apparently, even Gap had respect for their dead. Oh my. There are 5 sacrifices for the first Twilight in this game? Not 6? Oh, it's you, teacher. I was worried about where you'd gone. The game has already reached the first Twilight, and as you see, the first victims have appeared. So it's finally time. I'm getting all excited. I see. The you that is here looks to be in high spirits. I'm pleased. I've got high spirits and a captivating body. Add my charming disposition, you've got my only strong points. Wahaha. For some reason, Virgilia praised Beata for being in high spirits. Though Beata was taken aback at such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden, she pounded her chest and answered. She pounded her chest? She just went George of the Jungle? Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might even have been absent when Battler solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Baby. Junie. That should do, I think. Apparently she'd been absent for so many critical points that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game. Right now, 5 corpses have appeared. As you can see, their necks have been slit. George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji. All 5 of them had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths, and made it feel as though they no longer need their mouths to breathe. I see. So, anyone looking at George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, or Genji's corpses could confirm at a glance that they're dead. Red? Oh, there's no point in me holding out against you. That's right. At a glance, anyone could confirm that these corpses are dead, so it's absolutely impossible that they're just playing dead. Why did Leah use their bed? Who knows? However, she's always thinking what's best for my lady. She probably has some idea in mind that'll benefit her. But they'd hid the corpses here, specifically so that no one would be able to use their bed. No, Beato's still depressed. You're not looking at regular Beato here, you're looking at, like, in-battle Beato. You're still looking at, like, Natsuhi's delusion Beato right now. However, Ronabe was right. Virgilia always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gev's face. You're so hard to get a good angle on, Junie. Oh, you missed her yawning. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gev's face as she saw that the corpses she'd gone to such lengths to hide had now been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged. Why did you have Gap hide the corpses? As to that, since the epitaph has already been solved, this scheme of mine is different from usual. I now have serving and protecting Natsuhi as my goal. So why did anyone have to die? How would concealing the corpses protect Natsuhi? We've more or less figured out what our opponent's moves will be. This is probably a trap meant to corner Natsuhi. Most likely, they'll sort through alibis for the first Twilight and find them for everyone except her. Last night, Natsuhi-sama was the first to leave the family conference and then rested alone in her room. Unfortunately, she has no alibi whatsoever until the next morning. We've already made Kinzo's existence impossible to deny. However, there is a single move remaining to our enemy that might cancel that out. I see. So they'll corner Natsuhi and make her confess that Kinzo doesn't exist. Indeed, the enemy is probably after something like that. By watching the movements of the pieces involved with the family conference, we quickly realized that Natsuhi was isolated. Noticed that trap of theirs and countered with this move. The corpses disappear. Everyone has alibis and no one exists who could have moved them. Not only does this support the claim that a witch exists, it also throws doubt on whether they were actually corpses in the first place, just barely allowing Natsuhi to escape being a suspect. In other words, it's possible for Natsuhi-sama to claim that the sacrifices of the first Twilight were only playing dead. You mean, even though many people confirmed their deaths without fail in the cousin room? Mere confirmation of facts doesn't even approach the red truth. No matter how much everyone claims to have truly witnessed their deaths, the red truth doesn't exist in the human world. Erika wins the perception check, but fails every charisma check. Because the corpses don't exist, Natsuhi can discount their words as a mistake, some sort of trick, or she can say that they were all lying, and it's possible for her to do this over and over to buy time for herself. In the human world, which lacks the red truth, perpetual check is a valid move. An endless argument with both sides denying the other's claims. Not pretty. But that's the entirety of Umineko. That's pretty good, actually. I like that. It's 10 out of 10 writing. True, However, beauty is something to be sought only after victory. When those without victory seek it, it is not but poison. Well, they do say might makes right. And even if I don't think it's beautiful, those Voyager witches will probably like it and say it isn't boring. I see. I've managed to grasp the flow of this game. I imagine it'll get quite nasty. We're fully aware of that, and we already know that Nazi is probably about to be lured into yet another trap. A trap? Indeed. Someone Lady Linda Delta created, who calls himself a man from 19 years ago, has already threatened Nazi. She was ordered to go into a closet in a certain guest room in a few minutes, at 1 PM, and hide there. Kraus was taken hostage, so Nazi can't resist. I see. How relentless. Can you protect her? Of course. After all, Nazi isn't the culprit. No matter how much he's treated as the culprit, both the truth and phantoms are on our side. There's no way we'll lose. Nazi threw a cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed through her entire body. What do you mean by that? Are you saying you suspect me? Oh, I think we're here. I think we finally caught up. More or less. I think we're really close. You told me you left before anyone else, returned to your room, and didn't leave that room until morning. However, if you cannot prove that, it doesn't count as an alibi. Proof? How could I possibly do that? It doesn't matter how. Objectively speaking, it'll all be fine as long as you prove it was impossible for you to commit the crime. Everyone else is cooperating. I want you to stop being so hostile and give me your alibi, all with proof. That's right. Almost the whole night is a blank space and time for Nazi Nei-san. She might have left the conference, saying she wanted to rest before us, then gone to the guest house and attacked George and the others. Please don't be such a fool. Why would I kill George Kun, and on top of that, my own daughter, Jessica? Calm down. We're all equally suspicious. It's sad, but we all have to prove her innocence. Yeah. We've been thinking frantically about how to prove our alibis for last night, so that we could clear up the suspicion against us. I know you can't like being suspected, Nazi-san. If it frustrates you, then shouldn't your first priority be searching for someone to prove your own innocence? The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion, but the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Eric was still in the middle of confirming all the facts, but except for Nazi, who was uncooperative when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Nazi, who claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erica, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. Miss Pearl was no longer a place of comfort for Nazi, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive. That's ridiculous. Why must I be suspected when I've lost a daughter? You're maliciously trying to make me look like the culprit just because I went to bed early last night. I cannot stand this humiliation any further. Oh, so what are you going to do about it? Show us some kind of alibi that proves your innocence. As if you could. Give me George back, murder. Stop it, Ava. Nazi-san, you're probably a bit tired too. Same goes for us, of course. Why don't we take it easy for now? Seriously, we're a little too high-strung. Nazi, where are you going? To the closet! Searching for alibis for the culprit would be truly laughable at this point. When the typhoon passes, and the police come, and the seagulls cry, everything will be exposed to the light of day. There's no reason whatsoever for us to play at being detectives. Am I wrong, Erica-san? Generally speaking, you're right. However, I do have the authority to do this. Who gave her that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to doubt it. I'm leaving. I have no intention of going along with your pointless questioning before the police come. If you suspect me, feel free to do so. I'm counting on the police to clear away that suspicion. It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again, I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone couldn't connect to the police. Nancy said that the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow, and they would use the radio in that boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway. Nancy-san, it's dangerous to go alone. You really shouldn't have phrased it exactly like that. Come on, let's not try to be funny here, Nanja. Nobody likes your video game jokes right now. Perhaps it would be better if we all stayed here. Why not let her? This might make for some very good proof. If Nazi Nei-san gets killed in her own room, that'll be excellent proof of her innocence. Quit it, Aniki. It's probably best that we all get a bit of rest. Our bodies won't last until tomorrow. If we're going to take a break, we mustn't let our guards down, got it? We might not make it through the night, much less tomorrow. Nazi, if you're returning to your room, make sure you lock it tight. Close the windows and shutters too, and stay safe. I don't want to suspect anyone. And more than that, I don't want there to be any more victims. Thank you, Battler-kun. Then I'll return to my room. Goda, you're in charge now. I know this is a horrible situation, but see to it that our guests have everything they need. Should you really put Goda in charge when he's the only servant who doesn't know the truth about Ginzo and all that? I guess we're kind of past that point already, but still. Yes, madam, I shall do so. With everyone watching her, Natsu left the parlor. From their faces, she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern. That the first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. Natsu couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon, it would be that promised time, 1 p.m. She was to hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest room. It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against a culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So, Natsu could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd been forced to do this for her husband's safety. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsu had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed the cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlor. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I cannot disobey now. I am now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband, Kraus, has been captured, I must protect it even if I have to crawl through the mud. Of course, I am prepared to do so. I am Ushimi Natsu. Even if I'm not permitted to bear the one-winged eagle on my clothes, Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. Yep, just like he does in every single episode, Natsu. That's right. I managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything's gone well. Before my eyes was the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. The servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? I dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Popping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I'd like to get this era hide and seek over with without anyone noticing. In that phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago, he said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released whether I won or lost. But as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did janitor Kubasawa forget to lock it after cleaning? Or did the man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then all that about hide and seek might have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact that I was coming here secret, and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, it might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. That might actually turn out for the better. Perhaps this is a good chance to confront the culprit directly. Natsu had some experience with using a naginata, though only casually. Unlike Eva, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off any single ruffian indefinitely. As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning. I mean, I don't think she has said naginata on her right now. She readied herself and slowly opened the door. She couldn't just stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone. The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid, and she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear were the unsettling sounds of the wind and rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon it only made an uneasy feeling rise up inside her even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats. This closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. I'd say that's the case for pretty much any closet. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly in here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down would be a problem. She has a watch, I hope, and a light. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she had even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. However, none of these things she had imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was a cold guest room, and a lifeless closet that silently urged her to enter. And he told me to hide in here for an hour. He's mocking me. Natsu shrugged, turned around, and then locked and chained the guest room door. This way, no one will be able to get into this room. In other words, no one will be able to find me for the next hour. I win. What a stupid game of hide and seek. This surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game against that mystery man. However, it was such an easy victory, it made her feel uneasy. Normally, this would be against the rules of hide-and-seek. Even if she'd won, wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now, everyone had thought she'd return to her room. If they found a room with a chain set, that would make it an impossible closed room to them. Erica had dashed through the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set in this room, there'd probably be an uproar that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsu would be found hiding in the closet right away. It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock, might be a bad idea. That's right, this room was unlocked when I came here. If it were to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. Maybe if Erica's going around trying every single doorknob, which, I guess, wouldn't put it past her. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. So in the end, I have no choice but to do what he says. I hate doing it, but I cannot disobey. I undid those two precious locks, went into the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood, and managed to close the door from the inside. Pitch black. It reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere and then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't even be able to check my watch to see if an hour's passed. I'll probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let in a fight from my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor, holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. Have I ever played Hitman? I have not. I've seen videos of it by like RT before, but I've never played it myself, no. I didn't know that hiding in like closet space was a thing. I know you can hide in like boxes and stuff, like little ice chests, like freezers and things. It seems like a fun game. Oh, I might play someday. Just crouching down here for an hour will probably hurt a lot. I can't believe I'll be hiding in the darkness for a full hour, with nothing to hear except the wind and rain. Ironically, Natsu had made Jessica do the exact same thing in the past. She had done it when Jessica was a little girl, to scold her for the persistent bad habits, and teach her a lesson. She thought that making Jessica stay put in the darkness would spread a desire to reflect on her mistakes, and that this way, she would understand what she'd done wrong. It almost feels like I'm being made to do the same thing. If that's the true purpose of this hide-and-seek. How naive of me. This must be my naivety, the hope that if their goal is to make me repent, nothing will happen here during this hour. Uncertainty and fear of that man's shadow are not what I need right now. Will someone suddenly come to this room, open this closet, and do something horrible to me, now that I've come here in total secrecy as promised? That's what I should be worrying about. The culprit, or one of his accomplices, is very close by. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to observe me so thoroughly. I don't want to think it, but it's highly likely that the culprit bought off one of the servants. The culprit hid an eerie card with autumn written on it in my room. It's okay, I already have a blue truth for that. They haven't denied it yet. My personal room is always locked. That trick wouldn't have been possible without a key. Instead of believing that they obtained the key when the servants weren't looking. Oh, I see. That's what they mean, right. But the servants put away the keys, like, in the servant room at night, don't they? Or, like, when they're done, couldn't they totally just grab that? It could have been your husband, even. But, how? Did they know that autumn is my favorite season? How unsettling. The thought that this mystery man might be peeking into my heart sent goosebumps running across my whole body. It's true that I like autumn, but I've never said it out loud. I don't think anyone's ever heard me say it. If I asked even my husband what my favorite season is, he would probably be stumped for an answer. No. Just once, I told it to a single person. That's right. Shannon. On an autumn day long ago, I happened to be in a good mood. And I mentioned that autumn was my favorite of the 4 seasons. So the culprit, or one of their accomplices, has to be Shannon. Oh, Shannon sauce. The fact that I like autumn can only be known by Shannon. In that case, this is clear proof that Shannon's involved. She could have told someone. right? It could still be anyone. Full truth. Shannon gossiped with Kumasawa and told Kumasawa, and then Kumasawa told everyone else because Kumasawa was a big gossip. There you go. Anything like that works. That card with Autumn on it is proof. Outrageous. Even though she served the family for 10 years. I trembled and shook with rage. Didn't Kinzo once say that anger is the fastest sedative to cure fear and uncertainty? It's easy to tell the most fearful humans from within a crowd. They're always the first to get angry. I remember him telling me that. So I realized that this anger was a sign that I was actually frightened, and tried my best to remain calm. However, this is a vital clue for turning things around. Shannon may not be reliable as a servant, but if she is an accomplice used by that mystery man, this might actually be convenient. A weak-willed girl. If I threaten her, she'll probably spill the name of the mastermind in an instant. I'll secretly tell the police about this. It might become a big clue towards arresting the culprit. That card was probably meant to shock me and get me to do what he says, but he's actually dug his own grave. I never told anyone except Shannon that I like Autumn. This is unshakable proof that she's working with the culprit. No, like I said, we have a really easy blue truth. It's probably gonna come up. Though I once thought this time in the closet would crush me with uncertainty and uneasiness, it's actually gonna be the start of a counterattack. If I wasn't given this much time in the darkness, I probably wouldn't have noticed this. I'm almost grateful to the culprit for making up this foolish game. My mood brightened. I still can't guarantee that my husband is safe, but I'll definitely get him back and force the culprit to face judgment. I clenched my fist tightly and further strengthened my resolve to avoid losing this fight at any cost. At that time, I heard the sudden sound of someone trying to force the locked door open, and my heart leapt. Locked door? I thought you didn't lock any doors. Yeah, see, exactly. Oh, it was unlocked. The voice was Hideyoshi's. I heard that quiet voice, as though he was talking to himself, coming from what was probably the hallway. Apparently, he had thought it was locked and tried to unlock it, but it ended up locking the unlocked door instead. Relatable. Once again, there was the sound of the lock turning, and now the door opened with a faint sound. Why is Hideyoshi-san in this room? Footsteps that sounded like his came in, and there was the sound of him closing and locking the door behind him. Then came what seemed to be the sound of him setting the chain. Don't tell me Hideyoshi-san is the mastermind. Or else an accomplice? Other cat. Is he planning to do something to me in this room? It would take some time to unlock the door from this side, much less remove the chain. If Hideyoshi-san doesn't intend to let me escape from here, he won't give me enough time to undo the chain. In that case, if he opens the closet door and sees me crouching here pathetically, just what kind of fearsome words will he say? I don't want to be found. I don't want to be found. I beg you, pass right on by the closet door. Please keep going to the center of the room. My head was so filled with a throbbing sound that it felt like it was about to explode. I almost missed hearing his noisy footsteps. So when I heard a clunking sound coming from the center of the room, I finally realized that he'd passed by the closet and was deeply relieved. Just in case. This weather, it's pretty much night out there anyway. As he whispered, he did something that made a clunking sound. He's probably closing the shutters on the windows. Just in case. In case I tried to escape out the window? No, that can't be it. That's right. When I left the parlor, everyone was talking about possibly taking a break. After all, several murders have occurred, and the weather's bad. There'd be nothing abnormal if someone chose to rest in a guest room here instead of returning to the guest house. In that case, locking up and closing the shutters to guarantee safety is the proper course of action to take. When he finished closing the shutters, there was a thunk as though he'd flopped over on the bed. It was surprising how much of the situation could be grasped just by the sound. What's going on here? Did the man from 19 years ago plan all this out to put me in the same room as Hideyoshi-san? No, that probably isn't true. He probably planned on me hiding here, but Hideyoshi-san coming to take a rest here must have been outside the scope of his plan. Thinking about it this way, having him in the room might be odd, but it also might guarantee my own safety. Unlike his wife, Hideyoshi-san is the kind of person I can talk to. If Eva-san comes, things will probably get complicated. Maybe I should slip out of this closet now while he's still alone, reveal everything to just him and ask for help. But if I do that, my husband might be killed. Until my husband is released, I shouldn't do anything rash. Should I go out and talk, or hide in here? Moaning from my headache and biting my lower lip, I resisted the urge to crawl out of here. Even if I talk with Hideyoshi-san, I don't know where my husband is being held. I'm sure the traitor who's observing me is nearby. Just talking to him won't solve everything. I suspect that Shannon is the traitor, but there's no proof that Goat and the others aren't. It's all useless. I guess leaving here and confessing is too dangerous after all. Eventually, I heard a strange, sobbing voice. Whose voice was it? I strained my ears, trying to hear that strange voice, and was shocked to discover that it was Hideyoshi weeping. He did just lose his son. Hideyoshi, who had lost his only son, was finally able to shed tears and cry, now that he was all alone like this. Thinking that he needed to support Ava in her distress, he acted as though he alone was standing firm. However, he has as good a right to cry as anyone, and now that he's found a place where no one can see his tears, he finally let himself do it. And I've lost my daughter. I haven't seen her corpse with my own eyes, so it still doesn't really feel like she's dead. But if the one who carried her off was the culprit, and he had some repulsive motive for doing it, just thinking about it makes it feel as though my chest will tear itself apart. The reason I'm hiding in here now is that I'm thinking more about my still living husband than my dead daughter. But if I were given the chance, I'd be reeling at the top of my lungs too. However, I still cannot let myself do that. It isn't because the man from 19 years ago told me to hide. It's because I'm the final head of the Ushimura family. Look, it's silver. The Ushimura family silver. It's lead. It's been completely overshadowed by the recent uproar, but last night, Valorkin found the hidden gold and even gained the head's ring from that mysterious envelope. At the very, very end, when it's all over, when the seagulls cry, I probably won't be able to prevent his ascension as the head. And when everything regarding the distribution of the inheritance is revealed, the Ushimura family honor and glory passed down from father will plummet to the earth. So, I'm the final head. Valorkin will probably inherit the remaining wealth of the Ushimura family. However, its history and honor will all end with my generation. Therefore, I am the final head. I must not cry. Not yet. Until I get my husband back, and avenge my daughter, I will not be allowed to shed tears. In the closet, I silently hung my head as I listened to Hideyoshi-san's sobs. Who are you? Huh? My heart leapt. I heard a sound that must have been Hideyoshi-san, who had probably been lying prostrate on the bed, bounding to his feet. Did he notice me? How did you get in here? What's that? Wait a sec. Yeah. He was clearly in a struggle with someone. Who on earth could it be? No, it doesn't matter who it is. It's filled with a culprit, and they're probably trying to take Hideyoshi-san's life. Shouldn't I jump out of here and help him? If I can't help him, shouldn't I call for help? No, but if I do something like that, I'll be questioned about why I was hiding here. However, if Hideyoshi-san gets killed like this... No, now isn't the time to be saying that. At this rate, he'll certainly be killed. I'll jump out of here and help him right now. But if I do that, even if I can save Hideyoshi-san, I might be abandoning my husband's life. Hideyoshi-san's life and my husband's life. How sinful it would be to try and weigh those against each other. At that time, there was a loud sound as the door opened and the chain was pulled tight. Someone was trying to open the door despite the chain being set. Dear, it's me. Could you open up? Ava. Dear. What's happening? Dear? Open up. Open up. Open up, dear. Someone. She opened and closed the door over and over again with all her might, but of course, she couldn't snap the chain. Ava-san called for help in a loud voice and raced to the hallway. By this time, the room had settled back into silence, and that earlier sense of Hideyoshi being in a noisy struggle had disappeared completely. What's going on here? So right now, I'm in the same room as the murderer who killed Hideyoshi-san? In that case, the culprit should try to escape from the room as soon as possible. So why are they hiding in here? I haven't heard anything. Nothing that might have been the culprit who attacked Hideyoshi-san rushing away. No matter how much I strain my ears, I can't sense anyone in the room. In fact, it's so silent that it makes what happened just a second ago feel like an illusion. In other words, does this mean that the culprit is hiding his breath, standing just outside this closet, waiting for me to stumble out? Maybe. I don't even know what I should be scared of anymore. If only I could just melt away into the darkness of this closet. I mustn't remain in this room any longer. He did the second toilet from episode 1? No, because it's only Hideyoshi in the room, not Ava. It's just Hideyoshi dying, though also he's not in the shower. It just so happens that he's dying in another locked room. But he's not the only one who's had that happen, I guess. I get the feeling I have more to worry about than just my personal safety. But what should I do? Or somehow bypassing the chain. Well, maybe, but thing is, if we're supposed to trust what Natsuhi is seeing and hearing here, then that limits the culprit's options. because we never had that door open. Like, we never heard the door open past that point. So it sounds more like the culprit was hiding in the room beforehand, and Natsu just didn't bother looking around before she went to the closet. Eventually, the clamor of many rushing footsteps approached. I'll hold my breath again and melt away into the darkness of the closet. Good luck with that. Eva dashed back, bringing everyone with her. Koro was gripping some wire cutters to cut the chain with. After trying to open the door again and confirming that the chain was still set, she yelled through the crack in the door. Dear, we're going to open this up. Cut it right now. Yes. Koro stuck the large wire cutter, which looked like it could slice off a whole finger, through the crack of the door, and easily sever the chain. Dear. As soon as it was severed, Eva pushed Koro aside and dashed in. The others tried to follow her, but they bumped into Eva, who had fallen to her knees, moaning. So even though they couldn't tell much of what was going on inside the room, they could tell by Eva's moans that they were too late. What the hell? Dear, Dr. Nanjo, look at my husband, quickly. I'll do it right now. You gotta be kidding me. It's only been about 10 minutes since Uncle Hideyoshi went out saying he wanted a rest. Is there anyone in the bathroom? No. There's no one here. What could have happened? Dear. I'm afraid to say that there's nothing I can do. Nanjo stood up, hanging his head sadly. It was only natural, because anyone, even if they weren't a doctor, would think that at a glance. Hideyoshi was lying face down on the bed, and stuck deep into his back was something like a blade with an intricate demonic design on it. When Eva pulled it out with all her might, they could tell that it wasn't a blade but some kind of stake, and a sharp tip had penetrated nearly 15 centimeters in. It probably dug deep into the lungs. If it had been stuck in any harder, the tip might have even pierced all the way through to the surface of his chest. Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Why did you go on alone? Stupid. The culprit probably waited for us to get careless and split up. That bastard. So he still hasn't had enough blood? So he really is hiding somewhere in this mansion and coming after us? But there's something strange here. The doors and windows to this room are completely sealed. That's right. The shutters are all shut. The door chain was set until a second ago. Huh? But that's crazy. In that case, how did the culprit attack Hideyoshi-san in this room? Maybe they threw the stake through the crack in the door. Koro. Please. Hideyoshi-san's bed is in a total blind spot from this crack. You couldn't even kill him with a gun. This really is strange. It's a closed room murder. A closed room murder? It's a bit too early to be sure about that. Maybe he removed the ceiling in the bathroom and escaped to the space above it, or maybe you can close the shutters from outside. The shutters. They didn't budge an inch from the outside. I just went and checked. Erica. It's no wonder everything felt so quiet and relaxed. At some point, Erica had split from the group. Just now, she'd finally arrived and poked her face in from the hallway. When she heard that a crime had occurred in this room, she'd watched everyone rush towards the room but circled around to the outer wall herself. And she'd gone all by herself to check that the shutter was down on the window, that you couldn't do anything with it from the outside, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary. Well, it's not like I really supported Battler whenever he used it either. But you're saying, like, someone somehow threw this, like, weapon inside and pierced him hard enough to, like, hit his lungs from his back. That's some real reaching. Yoda just didn't bring his glasses today. He's inside of the room just like usual. There's no need to say it like that. My deepest condolences. So, what's the situation inside the room? The chain was set on the door, so we cut it and entered. And all the windows have the shutters down. They're locked tight from the inside. Why are they bickering about in there? He was arguing with Nanjo about something. Apparently, she wanted to carry the corpse to the parlor. Nanjo tried to calm her, saying that they should leave the crime scene as untouched as possible until the police came. What happened to the other corpses? The culprit carried them off somewhere, right? It may be that the culprit isn't satisfied with just killing, but intends to do something with the corpses. So no way we're leaving my husband all alone here. I was gonna say the same thing, she does kind of have a point. There's like some precedence to that. After all, the victims before now have all been carried away after we were shown their terrible wounds. Erica-chan, you'd probably like to preserve the crime scene, but could you just let this one slide? Do whatever you want. All I'm interested in is the fact that a closed room has appeared that's much more serious than Kinzo-san's study. I have no interest in corpses, so do as you please. Bao's expression was clearly unhappy, but she ignored him completely. Feel free to carry that corpse out any time. Or am I in the way? Erica backed away from the door to open a path. She showed no trace of any sadness for the dead. Her eyes simply blazed with thoughts of this closed dream murder that had appeared. In any event, the great detective had given her permission. Ava and some others wrapped Hideyoshi up in the sheets, and Goat and Rudolph carried him out. The sheets were quickly stained red. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kurosawa stripped the blanket off the bed to further cover the corpse. Hey, out of the way. Yes, I am out of the way. Let's go to the parlor. Yes. Dear. Listen up, everyone. From now on, we'll always move as a group. You must not let yourself be isolated. When the culprit attacked Genji, he probably got a master key. It's clear that even locking up will no longer make you safe. But even the chain was set. How did they do it? It's impossible. The shutters in the chain were firmly set. Even with a master key, it'd be impossible to force your way into that room. It must have been Beatrice-sama doing... Oh... There's no way Beatrice-sama did this. The epitaph has been solved, so there shouldn't be any more reason to hold the ceremony. Of course we can't understand it. This would be impossible for anyone except the witch. Impossible for anyone except the witch, you say? Good. It has a nice ring to it. Erica-chan, are you listening? We've decided to stick together from now on. First, we're carrying Hideyoshi-san's corpse to the parlor. Keep you hold off playing detective until we get there. When she heard the words playing detective, Erica grimaced visibly. Then everyone stumbled out and she took a single step into the now empty guest room, looked around and burned that scene into her eyes. Erica claimed to have a photographic memory. If that was true, I don't know why no one's checked the closet. They're doing a really bad job. It's because they agreed to stick together, basically. So, apparently, they're making the mistake of carrying the corpse away first, then they're going to come back and check it after. Erica claimed to have a photographic memory. If that was true, those few seconds were more than enough for her. Later on, she could sip black tea in the parlor while using the photograph of the scene inside her memory, playing the part of an armchair detective. Then suddenly, her eyes stopped in the closet off to the side. A closet for hanging overcoats. If it was large enough to fit a coat on a hanger, a person should be able to hide in it. Slowly, Erica stretched her hand out towards the closet. Erica's shoulder was grabbed roughly from behind. Let's go, Miss Detective. Did you ever learn how to stick together on school field trips? Well, whenever I go traveling, someone always dies. Conan syndrome. Hey, what do you think to do with brats? Come quickly. Rudolph told them to hurry. After clicking her tongue and going in the closet, Erica followed Battler back to the parlor for the time being. And if she wanted, she could just say no and use her authority here as the detective. I'm kind of surprised she's not, actually. The sound of her footsteps finally failed. The sound of their footsteps finally faded. I can't read. That time of terror, when I feared that even the dripping of the cold sweat covering my cheeks might be noticed, it finally ended. With my hand that still couldn't stop trembling, I slowly opened the closet door and dashed out into the hallway. It's okay, no one's found me. Still, it's a good thing they didn't lock the door. If they had, I wouldn't be able to lock it behind me after I left, and they'd find that suspicious. Anyway, I should leave this place. Then I'll return to my room and pretend that I was sleeping the whole time. Yes, if I don't get back soon, a new murder has occurred. They'll probably try to tell me about it. They'll probably do it shortly after they carry Hideyoshi-san's corpse back to the parlor. I can get around a phone call by saying I was asleep and didn't notice, but if they come knocking directly, that'll be bad. I have to get back quickly before they try to force their way in. I don't know whether I should run all out noisily, hide my footsteps and walk in secret, or walk around normally as though nothing has happened. At the very least, it'll be bad if I bump into them on their way back to the parlor. Anyway, I'll head to my room at a quick pace without being noticed by anyone. I pass through the hallway to the lobby. If I go up the big staircase in the lobby, my room is just a little bit... Natsuki-san. Yeah? Just as she was about to go up the large staircase, Natsuki heard Erica call out to her, and was so surprised that she visibly jumped. I was just about to go and tell you the news. Thank you very much. Did something happen? Just now, Natsuki-san. You're climbing the stairs, right? Your room is upstairs, isn't it? Erica coldly pointed out the strange fact. Natsuki cursed her bad luck. I couldn't sleep, so I was going to return to the parlor, but I wasn't sure whether to lock my room or not, so I was about to head back. I'm a warrior, so this sort of thing happens a lot. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that sort of thing does happen a lot. It's a common quirk among people who aren't confident in their memory. Normally, since Eric was clearly making fun of her, Nancy would have looked annoyed. However, right now, Nancy was extremely relieved to hear Eric admit that this sort of thing happened a lot. Why are you by yourself, Erica-san? I thought I'd investigate that guest room. Guest room? Yep. This situation's gotten pretty serious, hasn't it? Investigating the scene of the crime is my right. Erica's probing gaze peered deep in the Nazi's eyes. She could tell. Erica already suspected Nazi. Judging by the subtle nuance in her words, she must be plotting to make me slip up and reveal that I know about the crime with Hideyoshi. When I supposedly hadn't been told about it yet, Nancy played dumb and asked what happened again. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. This is just a repeat of the first crime, isn't it? What do you mean? Again, you were in your room. And again, you can't prove your alibi, can you? I don't know what you mean. To turn it around, how can you prove that I wasn't in my room? Ah, that. Let's take this one step at a time. Please worry about your lock later. I have something vitally important to discuss with everyone. I'll come back after I check my lock. Please get started without me. Hideyoshi-san has been killed. We'll be talking about that. But what? She'd planned on using the need to check her lock as an excuse to escape to her own room, after which she would claim to have a sudden headache and stay in bed the rest of the time. However, now that she'd been informed of Hideyoshi's murder, it would be clearly suspicious to postpone that and escape to her room. She was already under suspicion just because she'd been seen heading up the stairs to the second floor. She couldn't afford to do anything else suspicious. Nancy gave up and headed for the parlor as Eric had urged her to do. Oh boy. When she opened the door to the parlor, Ava's sobs poured out. Everyone glanced at Nancy with grave faces. Those gazes almost made it look as though they suspected Nancy. Oh gee, really? It was now painfully apparent to Nancy. This must have been what the man was after. It was a trap to create a baffling closed-room mystery and try to frame her for it. However, she couldn't have resisted. She couldn't sacrifice her husband's life. And while it's true I hid in the closet, that's all I did. I definitely haven't committed murder. I might be extremely suspicious, but I'm not the culprit. And most importantly, I'm not under suspicion yet. I'll tell the police everything. I'll have to endure until then. I'm sure one of the servants is a traitor. Even in a situation like this, if I mention my husband being held hostage, the culprit will hear and might use that as an excuse to kill him. Nancy's has just come back. Now that we're all here, I have something very important to discuss with you all. I think I know what's about to happen. I think we're about to see what Erica's famous for. Something very important? Yes, it's very important. I'd like to lay everything in front of you all, starting with the first crime. Then please do that with just the others. I think we should leave that sort of thing to the police. I'm not interested. Since I have it all laid out, this is a very important thing to discuss. Neither you nor anyone else has the right to refuse. What? Erica used her detective authority to proclaim the start of an assembly, which is apparently a thing you can do. None of the pieces could disobey. Praying that she wouldn't become the topic of conversation, Nancy reluctantly sat on the sofa as she'd been urged to. Go back to sleep, buddy. Oh, sorry. Could you close that door for me? Yes. Shed and Cannon closed the door. Since it had been decided a short while ago to lock all doors and windows carefully, Cannon locked it. That lock, which existed to protect the safety of this room, felt like a lock in a prison cell to Nazi, one that would hold her in place and prevent any escape. Nazi still hadn't noticed. Though Erica had gone into the corridor to check the crime scene in Hideyoshi's room, her goal had changed. In other words, from Erica's point of view, the sound of that lock was truly... checkmate. Erica said that suddenly. Brinkistel said that suddenly. Oh, fast. Wow, so you figured out the culprit already. We've barely gotten to any of the crimes, right? You could have just let me kill a few more and gathered a few clues yourself. Okay, Lambda, gather all the pieces. Now we're getting to the most interesting part. Let's both enjoy it to the fullest. Well, let's see. Why don't you show me what you've got? To think she'd lay down the challenge without waiting for game set at midnight. What a hasty person that Lady Brinkistel. So she's going to attempt to end the game early. She thinks she's already got it all figured out. It is quite an early challenge, to think that she's already managed to obtain a winning hand at this stage. Normally you can win by just claiming that a witch exists, but with Natsu and Kinzo, we've got a lot we need to protect this time. Sounds like this foot will be a pain. That's no problem at all. I won't let them do as they please with my golden island any longer. Hold on a sec. I want to check something in the wiki again. I'm concerned that if I keep reading, I'll be reading for another hour and a half. Which I guess isn't the end of the world. It's hard to like split up segments when you don't remember exactly what happens and how long it all takes. I just want to double check. They have like the VNs set into like sections on the wiki, kind of. It's fine, I'll commit. Bring it on, Lady Bryn Castell. Fruto de Erica. I will take a risk and commit. And the Golden Land, the endless rain, continue to fall. Oh, she likes the belly rubbins. Battler was nowhere to be seen. It would very soon reach the time the Battler joined in on the 5th game, and control of the pieces would be passed on to Battler. In other words, he would only be officially added to the game now in this final stage, where Bryn Castell had pinpointed the culprit, so he had left the Arbor a short while ago. Now, the only ones in sight were Virgilia, who continued to knit silently, and Beato, who just sat there blankly amidst the smell of her black tea, not even putting the cup to her lips. Virgilia stopped knitting for a moment, and looked out across the vast golden rose garden that extended as far as the eye could see. I believe it's safe to say that at least in the game over who the culprit is, Battler has gained such strength that he will never surrender again. By the 4th game, you would send him all your messages. In other words, at this time, Battler is capable of realizing the truth at any moment. However, he's still soft in some ways, so, even if the games continue like this 100 times, he won't solve it for all eternity. He'll just wander forever, like someone trying to find the bluebird. And that is you, Beatrice. It's the same for you. Even if this game continues hundreds more times, you will never reach the ends you seek for all eternity. Bryn Castell will abuse this game without a doubt, and the Delta will also churn this game about with the utmost arrogance. At a glance, that may be humiliating and appear to you and Battler as though the game has been stolen from you. The bluebird. No, I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Offhand, I was hoping they would explain it. It doesn't sound familiar to me. However, that is something the two of you need right now. To end Battler's naive softness. To end your hesitation. To catch the acts. And that's why you called the two of them here. To end the eternal torture between you. Those two will bring you either victory or defeat. But no matter how it goes, that result has already been filled with compassion. You should understand that as well by now. Japanese covered? Not to my knowledge. Virgilia faced Beato, whom she had come to adore as a daughter, with cold eyes that she must have not shown often. It'll probably be explained. Eventually. It was like the gaze of a mother who, instead of scolding, silently urges their child to recognize their mistake. Could be from like some children's song or something. In which language, I'm not sure. Beatrice, how do you intend to stay there, neither alive nor dead? Not rising up to heaven, nor falling into hell, there in the peak of Mount Purgatory? I am Virgilia. I have guided him through Purgatory and brought him to you at its peak. You are Beatrice. You must choose whether to take his hand and rise up to heaven, or grab him and fall into hell. Did you know that the Discord server called Purgatory, which lies in the gap between heaven and hell, is sometimes more torturous than even hell itself? On the gates of hell, it is written that you must abandon all hope. A human without hope can accept their suffering and give up. However, the residents of Purgatory have hope. A hope of possibly reaching heaven. A hope that cannot be abandoned. And it tortures them. Even in the depths of hell, no greater torture device exists than the single pin known as hope. Fly. Fly from the cliffs of Purgatory. Take it with you the regrets caused by your fleeting, fragile, foolish hopes and open up Pandora's box. Are you scared? Scared of opening the box? Beato was silent, but with a single tear, she nodded slightly. Is the cat in the box alive or dead? The time has now come to check. If the cat is dead, quickly hold a funeral for it and have it rise to heaven. If the cat is alive, quickly feed it and give it all of your affection. I can do that. Oh. Whether it is alive or dead, your cat box eternally desecrates the cat. The key to the box that you were afraid to open has been brought to you by those two. Don't desecrate cats. It's not good. No desecrate. Beatrice, it's time for you to die now. I hope that your heart is stopped by the hand of the person you desire. Oh, that kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? And now, probably back to Erica. We're literally jumping directly to the end of the 5th game. I don't think we're gonna get to see any more Twilights. I think we're just about to have a big debate. Big shouting match. Do I stop here? I don't know. I said I'll commit. All the pieces from the Game Boy were gathered. All the humans, furniture, witches, and the witches on an even higher level had gathered in one place. That place was like a solemn cathedral, with an unbelievably high ceiling. White stonework, golden ornaments. Though there were windows, there were no entrances or exits. It was a strange, strange place. But for some reason, no one wondered where this strange place was. Because they were not given the right to think of this place as strange. I have to be totally sure. I have to be 100% sure. I want to do this. Hold on. No. I'm looking at the wiki, and it doesn't sum the section up well. But it does say how many more songs we're going to have before it ends. And it's a pretty big number. We're looking at another, like... The final battle's about an hour long. You say that, but then there's also both tea parties. And it looks like one of the tea parties is pretty long. So, you see what I mean here? There's quite a few song changes. There's like a good 30 or 40. So, if that's at least like 2 or 3 minutes for most songs, that's pretty long. So, I don't want to cop out. But I want to like maintain like good VOD length. Save the tea party for next stream. Is the tea party long enough to save an entire stream if I do both tea parties in one stream? Real? If you can tell me that. If they're like an hour, hour and a half long, preferably an hour and a half more, then I can do that. And I could do everything up until then right now. Thoughts? I'll give you a sec here. The pieces, boss. The pieces, the pieces. Sorry, June. I didn't mean to scare you by making weird voices. You haven't seen the tea parties yet. Well, how long is a video on the tea parties? I can check this myself. Let's see. Umineko EP5 tea party. Oh my god, it's almost 2 hours long. Okay, alright. In that case, okay. Alright, that works fine then. I'll do this scene. And as soon as we, like, roll credits and we just have the 2 tea parties left, then we'll stop. Okay, so we'll keep going. It's gonna be a hell of a lot of tea. The pieces. Have they all been gathered? So we'll do the big showdown right now. Yes, they have. Well done. What a show. I wonder just how many people there are here. No matter how many we see, every being outside the 18 is a phantom. Making you acknowledge them is what my game's all about. The 3 witches were seated on special thrones set above a very high balcony. In the center sat the Game Master, Lamb, and the Delta, and on either side of the semicircular balcony sat Brinkistel and Beatrice, facing each other. Below them, Erica ran forward, lifted the corners of her skirt, and bowed respectfully. Great Lady Lambda Delta, we thank you for granting our request for an assembly. And Great Lady Brinkistel, my master, please look forward to it. Though it may be only for a short while, I'll most certainly make my master forget about the poison that torments her. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'd expect no less from my double, my piece. Erica and Brinkistel exchange cruel smiles that make anyone want to avert their gaze. Listen up, witches and humans. I hereby announce that with this assembly of witches gathered, the Court of Illusions will now begin. The commander of the game spoke with the words of power. Though her words were spoken within such a vast space, they rang out with the force of a bell in a bell tower. Your lives and roles as they correspond to this game are over. The 5th game is now closed, and the midnight answer session shall begin. Well, I'd like to get started quickly, but why don't we have everyone quickly introduce themselves first? After all, there are so many people here. So essentially, whatever happens now, it means the end of Game 5. No matter whether the witch side wins or the human side wins. Hehehe. I am Lambda Delta, the Witch of Certainty and the new commander of this game. Brinkistel, Witch of Miracles. My goal is to penetrate Beatrice's illusion of the witch. I am the Endless Witch, Beatrice. My goals are to claim my own existence and to protect Natsui and Kinzo. Battler-sama, you come next in rank. I'm Yoshimi the Battler. I'm fighting against Beatos. No, against the witches. That's all. As I believe you know, you had joined in on this game partway through. At the time this assembly of witches opens, you have yet to participate. Do you understand? I get it. You probably mean I don't have the right to speak for a while, right? Thank you for understanding. Even though Battler held the rank near that of witches, he sat on the foremost of the benches shared with the other relatives, all by himself at one end. You met the gaze of Beato, who was up in the balcony. You might have said you were my archenemy. Well, you aren't necessarily my only enemy. Let's take this game back. It belongs to us. Yeah. I almost said I was fighting against Beato's illusion of the witch. Since the beginning, Beato has been my only enemy. But right now, Erica and those witches who started toying around with Beato's tail are also my enemies. Who should I fight and how? Maybe it's a good thing I don't have the right to speak for a while. I'll calm down and coolly watch over everything. I am the detective and the one who called with this assembly of witches. Kurura Erica. I will expose the culprit of the 5th game and stick a charming period in the end of this tale. Erica greeted the witches above her and the humans behind her once again. Leave it to Erica to introduce herself twice. I'm also looking forward to it. Okay, remaining pieces, introduce yourselves in whatever order. Humans, introduce yourselves, all of you. When 45 urged him to introduce himself, Kinzo stood up. I'm Yoshimina Kinzo. I slipped out of the study window and am hiding somewhere on Rakenjima. Yoshimina Kraus. Currently, I have been captured and am being confined somewhere. I'm Yoshimina Eva. I'm alive. I'm Rudolph. The rest of us are Yoshiminas too, so leave off the paneling game. I'm Ushiro Rosa. I was killed in the first Twilight. Jessica. I also died in the first Twilight. I'm George. I also died in the first Twilight. Maria. I died, but look, I'm here talking. See? Dying isn't a big deal, right? I'm Ushimi Natsuhi. I'm alive. Yeah. Hideyoshi here. Hey, Goku here! I was killed just a short while ago. Kirie. I'm still alive. Nanjo. I'm also hanging in there. My name is Genji. I passed away in the first Twilight. I'm Shannon. I'm still alive. I'm Kennen. I'm also alive. I'm Goda. Pleased to meet you, everyone. But we don't know whether you're alive or not. Goda. Goda. Read the room. I'm Kumasawa. Pleased to meet you. You too, Kumasawa. Now, on to the witches. Everyone, introduce yourselves, yeah. If she won't say it, I'll say it for her. Like in the Undertale Judgment Hall. Virgilia's group could also be seen. Like the floor Beatrice's group was on, the second floor had a balcony that looked like raised audience seating, and they sat there looking down as though they were at a theater. My name is Virgilia. I am Beatrice's teacher. I'm Gap. Making corpses disappear is my job. Ronabe, I'm in charge of making black tea. Kukuku, he did nothing. He did nothing this time. I greet you in the name of the Seven Sisters of Purgatory. I served in the murder of Hideyoshi on the second Twilight. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, right here. Yes, please save us some time and just do that. Let us then have Lady Erica's furniture introduce themselves. Gertrude, I am an Assistant Inquisitor of Heresy. Cornelia, I am an Assistant Inquisitor of Heresy. The two of them could also be seen in the second floor audience seating. They stood apart from Virgilia's group. Then Dolinar, who was seated between the two, slowly stood up. She had a presence and dignity about her, as though she was overseeing everything from that place. Dolinar Enact is my name. I am Lady Erica's primary assistant. Here we got Aki overseeing the trial. Battler, I expect much from you. Please don't disappoint me. Let's just both give it what we got. Most of the time, there will be no need for Dolinar to step forward. However, when the witch side plays around with ugly word games, I'll need to have Dolinar convict them. A miracle like the one in the study won't happen again. And finally, let us introduce ourselves. We are the Chiestra Sisters Imperial Guards, who have been tasked with the management of proceedings at this assembly of witches. Hello, everyone. Yeah. This ends the introduction of all pieces. A total of 38 people are present here. Holy shit. There are 38 characters in the 5th game, but if you added all the pieces from previous games too, it would probably rise even higher. This game, which has so often been likened to chess, now has far more pieces than a chessboard. Oh, Umineko. See, we don't have like any... Oops. I didn't actually save. I'm gonna check, like, when did I have to shut up? Okay, we don't have like anything new in any of this stuff. All the same stuff here. Kraus is missing. We got 6 people dead. What about the goats? We haven't seen a single goat this time. They just weren't needed, I guess, huh? You're right. But yep, everyone else is indeed everyone else. We got a lot of everyone else's here. Oof. Very well, then I guess we'll get started. Another person who called this meeting began. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Goat. Oh, wait, hold on. Damn it, real. Refill my drink. And some popcorn for me. Yeah, that's right. Who would have decided demons ought to eat popcorn when watching a play was you, after all? Yes, I intend to enjoy this. And could I get some black tea and mustard miso? Erica, begin. Already starting to get bored. Yes, my master. Leave it to me. Order! Silence! At the sound of her voice, the Chiestra sister's corpse straightened up, lifted their right knees, and stamped down hard on the floor with their heels. Man, what I wouldn't give to see this whole thing animated. It became a low, deep rumble on the ground, and all chatter in the cathedral disappeared instantly. As their eyes and expressions became even more hollow and empty, the room fell back into silence, almost as though they were a collection of wax models. Amidst this heavy silence, there was the sound of footsteps, as Erica walked out into the center, where she could catch everyone's attention. Hey, there he is. When she signaled with her chin, a goat attendant appeared from behind a pillar, and carried a single, plain chair out into the front and center of the room. It must have been the defendant's chair. No, have the goat crouch down and sit on the goat. You're not using them properly. I, Furuta Erica, will make an accusation. The murder of the 5th game is... Gee, I wonder who she's going to accuse. Ushimiya Natsuhi-san, you are the culprit. Erica pointed at Natsuhi and spoke. Then Natsuhi waxed all alone, shook and regained his expression. It was an expression of panic. Chiestra sisters, please take the defendant to her chair. Understood. Wait, what are you doing? Let go of me. 445 and 410 both pinned Natsuhi's arms behind her back and led her to the chair in the center. Natsuhi resisted, but the Chiestra sisters were surprisingly strong and she couldn't do anything. Yeah, they're basically like animatronics. She turned to the relatives for help, but they just remained silently like wax models. I, Furuta Erica, will now reconstruct why the crime was only possible for Ushimiya Natsuhi. Beato, of course, you'll be challenging this, right? Naturally. I am the Ushimida family alchemist, Beatrice the Golden. Furuta Erica, I challenge you. I'll take these false accusations you're trying to place to my master, and tear them apart. Beatrice. Fear not, Natsuhi. You are my master, and you are the true head with the one-winged eagle engraved in your heart. Do not fear a crime you have not committed. At those words, Natsuhi jerked back and gulped. Her panic finally disappeared, and she stood up straight. That's true. I am Ushimiya Natsuhi. I'll confront any challenge that would disgrace the Ushimida family. How could you try a bluff like that in a situation like this? You really are the bullied kid in every single fragment. So, Byrne, make your claims. I, Byrne Castell, claim that a human, Ushimiya Natsuhi, is the culprit of this game. And you too, Beato, okay? I, Beatrice, claim that the culprit in this witch is not human. The culprit in this game is not human. I am the culprit. Red Costello, who smiled daringly, and Beatrice, who smiled primly, cross gazes. Listen, witches and humans. 2 claims have appeared for a single truth. Is the culprit a human, Ushino Natsuhi? Is the culprit a witch, Beatrice? If the witch wins, the truth about the 5th game will disappear in the darkness. If Herka wins, the illusion of the witch will be wiped from the game board. In other words, for Beato alone, this is a battle that must not be lost. Are you prepared? And what am I supposed to be preparing myself for? This has always been just what I wanted. If Herka wins, the illusion of the witch will be destroyed. That means the existence of the witch will be denied. Beato was fighting for her life. However, this wasn't the only time she'd been fighting for her life. It had always been a life-or-death struggle, even when she fought with Battler. Because if Battler had won and destroyed the illusion of the witch in the previous games, Beato would have been destroyed. That's dirty. Erica alone has nothing to lose if she fails. I wonder. Lady Bryn Costello is not a compassionate person. I can't imagine she'd give warm treatment to a piece that didn't perform to her expectations. It was inconceivable that the ruthless Bryn Costello would place no blame at all on a piece who had suffered defeat. Eric was probably fighting for her life just as much. The 2 claims would clash, and one would be weeded out. One would fall, and would not leave this place alive. The only ones who truly had nothing to lose were those witches. Okay, no problems. Get started. In that case, I would like to go first. The murder of Hideyoshi-san is very simple. It should be impossible to suspect anyone other than Natsuhi-san. Except for the victim and Natsuhi-san, all of us were in the same room, correct? It really was simple. Except for Natsuhi, everyone had been inside the parlor. And because it was so simple, it was decisive. No matter how you look at it, the one who killed Hideyoshi was Natsuhi. No, it's the other way around. No matter how you look at it, no one except for Natsuhi could have killed Hideyoshi. I don't think we've ever seen it and read that Kraus is dead. There's no room for discussion or debate. I'm telling you, that's a mistake. Maybe I don't have an alibi. However, I don't believe lack of an alibi proves that one is the culprit. We know that Natsuhi is the only one without an alibi. But wait, the scene of the murder was a closed room. It should have been impossible for anyone, including Natsuhi, to have committed the crime in that room. Except for me, since I could have done it with magic. Hehe. I'll explain the closed room trick, the howdunit, later. For the time being, I'll start with a whodunit. Because of the aforementioned, it's impossible to suspect any character except Natsuhi-san regarding the murder of Hideyoshi-san. My lady, it may be dangerous to press any further on this. I agree. It's the fact that Natsuhi was hiding in the closet of Hideyoshi's room. When it comes to repeating things in red, they'll check to see who's in the room, and you'll be cornered. Probably. Lady Lambda Delta is the commander of this game. If it suits her fancy, she'll set up Natsuhi as the culprit regardless of the facts. If the typhoon passes and the police come to perform a scientific investigation, perhaps the true culprit will be identified, and thus false accusations against Natsuhi will be lifted. However, in this closed-off Rakenjima, the police will not arrive for all eternity. In other words, the real truth will not be revealed. Inside this cat box that will never be opened, false charges that everyone accepts are worth no more or less than the truth. The Rain is most likely to use the simple murder of Hideyoshi to give the impression that Natsuhi saw as the culprit, before moving on to the first Twilight's reconstruction, which has more uncertain elements. It's not good at all to move forward with the Game Master suspecting us. We should take the initiative. Sure. Lady Lambda Delta. As you are well aware, a fair number of murders were committed during the 5th game, and we are skipping the rather lengthy chunk of time from midnight until the early morning. Skipping Hideyoshi's murder and stepping backwards and forwards in time will only lead to confusion. It is my belief that we should follow events chronologically and in order, though the decision is yours, of course. Objection. In the process of prosecuting the culprit, chronological order has no significance. As it relates just to— I love this. Objection. Proto Erica is trying to mix up the chronological sequence in order to create a false impression of the events. Well, I'm not a fan of confusing things myself. I accept Beato's claim. Erica, start with the first Twilight instead of jumping to the second. Tch. I definitely saw Erica click her tongue. I understand. So this is a way of telling Rakenjima's tale. I was guided by Virgilio, met Beatrice, reached the peak from which you can see everything below you, and finally understood the truth of this world. This is that thing we were talking about earlier, Virgilio. Yes, that's right. Truth is very fragile in this place. As long as each side makes its own claim, different truths can exist at the same time. Yes, this really is a trial. Both sides put forth their own truths. This here truly is the Brawn Tube trial that Virgilio once used as an analogy. Then it will follow Lady Lambda Delta's orders and start from the first crime at the first twilight. As you know, at midnight, October 4th, the first day, following a short break in the family conference, Natsu left on her own, saying that she was going to bed early. Therefore, her alibi is completely lost from that time until the next morning. Claim put forth. The culprit is Ushimi Natsu because Natsu is the only one without an alibi. Oh, is that so? I believe there are several people besides Natsu who have dubious alibis. Unless you can clear suspicion from all of them, I cannot allow you to call Natsu the culprit. We cannot conclude that Natsu is the culprit, as long as there are other people without alibis. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure we don't miss that. Because they might scroll by it or something. I don't know. I think they're gonna like go off this as a checklist, I wonder? I'm not sure. I'm not gonna read it out right now. I'm just gonna skim over it. The claim has been made that Natsu is the only one lacking an alibi, yada yada, between that hour. So, here's a bunch of possibilities here. Is it gonna read over these? No. Hold on. I'm gonna leave it for a minute, but I have that screen capped in it if I want to go over it. True, if Erica's gonna call Natsu suspicious so confidently, she's first gotta show that everyone else has an alibi. Right, Bren? Yes, of course. Erica will explain that perfectly. The culprit is Ushimi Natsuhi, because we will prove that everyone else has an alibi. Of course, my master. In that case, I would like to explain things in order. Let's forget about Genji's murder for now and focus on the crime in the guest house. For this case, you'd like to suspect the servants who were in the guest house, right? Ooh, stand up. On that night, Goto-san and Kumasawa-san were there. Isn't that right, you two? When she turned to face the direction where those two were seated, those two wax models alone came back to life. They probably weren't even granted souls until they were allowed to speak. In that case, it would have been better if Natsu's soul could have disappeared as well. Natsuhi, who was in the defendant's chair, kept her soul the whole time and was constantly hanging her head, looking nervous. Goto hurried to his feet and answered Eric's question. Yes, that is correct. On that evening, I was alone in the guest house servant room. Well, look at my age. Staying up all night would be a heavy burden, so I returned to the waiting room in the guest house and went to bed right away on my own. Yes, yes. Doesn't that mean Goto and Kumasawa have lost their alibis? Kumasawa claims that she was sleeping alone in the waiting room. Goto claims he was alone in the servant room. Either of them should have had enough time to go to the cousin room and commit murder. Nonsense! Why would we do something like that? That's right, that's right. How could I ever kill someone? We cannot conclude that Natsu is the culprit. After all, was the crime also possible for Kumasawa or Goto, who were both in the guest house? Natsu said it all. Both Kumasawa, who was sleeping alone in the waiting room, and Goto, who was alone in the servant room, are in the exact same situation as Natsu in a room. Both of them have lost their alibis. Have no fear. I guarantee that neither of these two are murderers. First off, following dinner, Kumasawa-san left the mansion with me and the others and went to the guest house, entered the waiting room, and slept until morning. It's the same for Goto-san. Once he finished with his job, he chatted with us in the lounge and went to sleep afterwards. Neither of them had the opportunity to commit murder. So we're finally here. I see it's time for me to stand up as well. Your turn is over already, Erica. Go summon that bodyguard you rely on so much. Beato glanced at where Delaner sat in the second floor audience seating. However, Delaner just stared back with those usual expressionless eyes. Repeat it. We have absolute proof of Goto and Kumasawa's alibis. We refuse. Why give a hint to an enemy? There's no way we'd answer. Aha! Did you hear that, Lady Lambda Delta? They say they have no proof. How could they claim that Goto and Kumasawa have alibis without proof? Good point. What do you say, Erica? How can you claim that Goto and Kumasawa have alibis? Fall back, Erica. My opponent is Delaner over there. A mere human like you can be no match for a witch. No, there's no need for Delaner to step forward. In fact, it's precisely because a mere human will defeat a witch that the illusion of the witch will now be denied. So go ahead. Use the red and blue as much as you like. I'm ready for it, okay? Whether going to have a big Erica win or a big Erica loss. But either way, it's going to be really, really built up to. In response to Erica's challenge, Beato smiled boldly yet gracefully and slowly stood up. And they glared at each other between the floor and the balcony. Goto and Kumasawa have no alibis. The two of them were in the guest house and could have reached the cousin room to commit murder at any time. Unless you can deny that possibility, you cannot treat Natsu as the culprit. Beato's blue truth stuck out rapidly. The curtain had finally dropped and the battle had begun. A human like Erica can't use any red. How could she turn this around without calling Delanor? Though Erica cannot use it, her master, Lady Brinkestell, can. We mustn't let our guards down. Full of truth, valid. What will you do, Byrne? Will you or Delanor step in instead? It is still not my turn, and it is not Lady Brinkestell's turn either. Yes, that's right. There's no need for us to show up for something like this. This is important precisely because mere human like Fiddler and Erica will defeat you, Beato. Because you'll be defeated by a human, we'll know. We'll all know that the fake witch who calls herself Beatrice the Golden is nothing more than a subhuman phantom. If you really could do that, it'd be totally entertaining. Very well, Erica. Let's see what you've got. Explaining it for the first person, Kumasawa-san, is extremely simple. Kumasawa-san, stand. Yes. Kumasawa-san, from the time you went to bed last night, to the time you were informed about the crime in the morning, did you ever leave the waiting room? No. I was sound asleep until morning. I really was. The truth is, after dinner last night, I had a chat with Eva-san, and she told me something very interesting. I tried that out myself. And what exactly is that? You don't mean... That's right. It's what cornered and sealed Kinzo in his study. I learned that you can create a seal by putting something between a door and the frame. Are you kidding? Did she actually do that to Kumasawa-san's waiting room? Eric was in the guest house, so there's no obstacle to her having been capable of that. After all, it was an unsettling night, and a massive amount of gold had just been discovered. Many sorts of crimes might have occurred. Where there is a detective, there will be a crime. I foresaw that some kind of crime would take place. Yes, real... It's where the tape meme comes from. So I used this to seal away people whose alibis might otherwise be lost. Erica held a piece of brown paper high in the air. After I watched Kumasawa-san, who returned to the guest house with me, say goodnight and enter the waiting room, I used this to seal the door. Then in the morning, when the crime was discovered and caused a big uproar, I immediately went to check Kumasawa-san's waiting room, where I confirmed that the seal was still set. Therefore, I can prove Kumasawa-san's alibi. Kumasawa has an alibi. Okay, good. So it's... Alright, perfect. Oh, I love how they're doing this. I wish they'd done this so long ago. I love this kind of shit. Okay, we're gonna go down the list bit by bit, Erica. Good though. A wonderful alibi. Not a single gap. Kumasawa returned to the guest house with Erica, went to the waiting room to sleep, and never left the room until morning. In other words, after Kumasawa returned to the guest house, she never went to the second floor until morning. The proof Erica had shown was elevated by Brinkestell and became red truth. This truth, which had become red, could no longer be overturned, even by Beato. In other words, in that instant, Kumasawa's perfect alibi had been absolutely guaranteed. Oh, then what about Goda? Goda-san holed up in the servant room right after reaching the guest house. And you know what I did next? I put tape on his door! I sealed him up in the same way. Then when Rosa-san returned at 1 AM, I happened to notice her when I stepped out into the corridor. And I put tape on her too. I let Goda-san, who's still in the servant room, know this. At that moment, the seal was still in place. So from the time we arrived at the guest house until 1 AM, Goda-san never left the servant room, and afterwards, he was with me in the lounge until 3 AM. And after 3 AM, I was on the second floor. So I can guarantee that Goda-san didn't come up to the second floor. Erica's seal proves that Goda was holed up in the servant room until 1 AM. And Erica has proven his alibi from then until 3 AM, since she was passing the time in the lounge with him. And Erica also has proven that she never set foot on the second floor until the morning after. In other words, after Goda returned to the guest house, he never went up to the second floor until morning. Goda has an alibi. Of course he does. He would never kill anyone. It's funny that Genji's listed here when Genji's one of the ones who died. But I guess there's the possibility he killed the others and killed himself, huh? Red truth valid. Well done, Erica. The alibi due to your seal on that door has been acknowledged by Byrne and elevated to the status of red truth. Thank you very much, my master. I am the detective. I may be human, but I can use the red truth despite that and surpass humans. So now you claim to have surpassed humans. It's 1,000 years too early for you to talk like that, conceited brat. It'll be a pain to have you try anything funny, so I'll make this clear now. In fact, I should have done this in the beginning. I apologize for being so roundabout. This is the situation around the guest house at midnight. The gold was found, an emergency family meeting was called for, and Battler-san went to the mansion with the relatives. I, the 3 cousins, Dr. Nanjo, Goto-san, and Kurosawa-san remained at the guest house. I've already explained Goto-san and Kurosawa-san's alibis. George-san, Jessica-san, and Mario-san were playing cards in the cousin room. I actually joined them for just a little bit, and it clearly witnessed that they were still alive at that time. My master, I ask that you repeat this. Penny, come on. There is now another cat right behind June. Oh, she's up here for a bottle cap. Okay, honey, go ahead, go ahead. Fetch, fetch. Go ahead, go ahead. No, she's just gonna be here, I guess. Okay, damn. Yes, I'll respond. At midnight in the guest house, George, Jessica, Mario were alive, and in the second floor cousin room. Nanjo, Goto, and Kumasawa were on the first floor. It's my water. No touch. And since there's no need to hold off on it anymore, I'll confirm that all the victims so far are dead. George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji really are dead. How could they be playing dead with their necks sliced open like that? No murder occurred before midnight. We guarantee that George's group is dead. Is it possible that George and the others are just playing dead? No. The crime was not committed before midnight either. So that's 2 more possibilities off the list here. Thanks for repeating that, my master. If we hadn't made these things clear, you might have started going on about how they were already dead before I guaranteed everyone's alibis, or that they weren't actually dead at all. Yeah. Unsurprisingly, Beato's side couldn't get away with the simple plan of claiming the victims were only playing dead. But in order to overcome Goda and Kumasawa's alibis, it should have been possible to suppose that the crime occurred before those doors were sealed. However, the opponent had predicted this more perfectly. It had been shown in red that the crime did not occur before the time period covered by Erika's alibis. Got it. That's the last time the victims were confirmed to be alive, and wish she'd said that in the beginning. This means we could ignore everything that happened before midnight. Moving further, at midnight, Natsu, Kraus, and Genji were in a quarter on the second floor of the mansion. All the remaining people were at the family conference in the dining hall. Of course, at that point in time, no murder had occurred. Genji was also alive. We confirmed that those thought to be inside the mansion at midnight were indeed inside the mansion. Addendum, it's already been shown that none of them left the mansion before 1, excluding Natsuhi. This isn't something Erika observed, but we can't move the game forward without settling it. Very well, I'll acknowledge that red truth. Thank you very much for that red truth, my master. Since Erika had been in the guest house, it was only natural that she could explain the situation there. However, since she hadn't been in the mansion at the time, explaining the situation over there would have been extremely difficult for her. Beato would normally have attacked there with a brutal truth, saying that the people in the dining hall had all agreed to keep to the same story, that someone snuck out of the dining hall, and that they might have committed murder in the guest house. However, because Byrne had instantly settled that matter with the red text, Beato had completely lost her chance to strike back. Brutal. Damn it. I don't think Battler's allowed to step in until after the first Twilight's been settled, unfortunately, so it's going to be a bit very troublesome to think we would be put at such a disadvantage. This is almost the exact opposite of EJ's fights with Battler. In fact, the situation might be worse than it was back then. At a glance, the fight between the two of them resembled our previous fights. However, there were some vital differences. The first was whether or not Beato was the Game Master. The Beato who fought against me was the Game Master, so she knew all the truth. That's why she was able to use the red text at will. However, the current Beato isn't the Game Master. She's just a single piece on the game board. In other words, even Beato doesn't know the truth. So you could say that Beato is now in the same position I once was. Also, though Erika may seem to be in the same position I once was, the situation for her is totally different. She's connected to the witch called Byrne Castell. Even though she isn't the Game Master, she's capable of elevating Erika's statements to become red truth. Because of this, Erika can use the red truth, even though she's neither a witch nor the Game Master. Beato, who's supposed to be the witch, possesses no truth nor red she can use. And yet the detective, Erika, can use the red truth. The advantage is completely flipped over to the other side. Perhaps you could say that the current Beato is in a much worse position than I was when I fought with her. After I got used to the game, Beato stopped responding to my demands that she use the red, but in the beginning, she'd responded to almost all of them, giving me quite a few hints. That's why we were able to fight on par. However, Brent Costello is different. She fully understands the rules of this game and is prepared to corner Beato without even a hint of restraint. And because of this, I knew. In the past, Beato went easy on me so that we could fight on par with each other. This has become quite an amusing fight. I see, so I must fight from the position Battler once stood in. Beato. In the past, I've insulted you and called you incompetent. In red, no less. I can handle much, much worse than this. It's now impossible to suspect Goda and Kurosawa. You can't win by arguing that point any longer. Yes, let's switch to a different approach. The next in line would probably be Nanjo. He was also in the guest house. Nanjo was in the lounge with Erika. However, I believe the time periods before and after that have been left open. That's right, I'll strike there. Nanjo, you were relaxing the first 4 rounds of the guest house with Erika and Goda, correct? Was the crime also possible for Nanjo, who was in the guest house? Place your bets. Yes, I was with Erika-san the whole time. And during what time was this? From 1 AM to 3 AM. Yes, that's right. It was the period between 1 and 3. Dr. Nanjo, Goda-san, and I were relaxing in the lounge. Repeat it, my master. I'll respond. From 1 AM to 3 AM, Erika, Nanjo, and Goda spent their time in the lounge on the first floor of the guest house. Though she had flat out refused to repeat whatever Beato told her to, she responded to Erika's demand immediately. The red truth was starting to corner Beato. She grimaced as though in pain, but she still struck back with the blue truth. No, perhaps she really was in pain. Now that the characters of Art Nazi have had their alibis established, the illusion of the witch is also being denied. Beato perceived the denial of resistance as pain. Even so, he shouldn't have an alibi for the time period before and after you were in the lounge. It was possible for Nanjo to commit the crime too. That's right. I get that Nanjo was in the lounge with Erika from 1 to 3, but what about before and after that? What about that, Erika? Yes. First, the alibi for before 1 AM. This is no problem at all. I played cards with the cousins in the room until midnight. And get out of there, honey. Oh. And then went downstairs to the lounge where I met Dr. Nanjo. That's right. At midnight, I met Erika-san after she came down the stairs and spoke with her, learning that she was quite the connoisseur of the mystery genre. I realized that I'd found a kindred spirit. When I went into the library to solve the Epitaph's riddle, I noticed that there were several original copies of famous foreign mystery novels stored there. So I wanted to discuss them with the actual books in hand. We moved to the library and were talking the whole time, constantly, until we moved to the lounge. Cramped though it was, that book storage room in the guest house was stocked well enough that it was fair to call it a small library. In it were several famous foreign mystery novels that Kinzo had once taken a liking to. Of course, they were all originals and in English, but English was no problem for either Erika or Nanjo. Ooh, wow. For this occasion, they had borrowed the key to the library once more from Goda in the servant room. Eigo jouzu desu ne. At that point, Erika checked the seal again, and of course, reset it. Damn her. Even though she keeps it sealed for anyone else to enter or leave, she alone enters and leaves whenever she wants. I see. So from midnight until 3 AM, when you went to sleep, you were with Nanjo the whole time? That means Nanjo's alibi is the most rock solid of them all. Yes, that's it exactly. My master, repeat it. I'll respond. After midnight, Erika was with Nanjo the whole time until 3 AM. At midnight, the crime in the cousin room still hadn't occurred, so this way, an alibi had been established for the period before the time they were in the lounge. After that, we walked out of the library and into the hallway at 1. When we did, we just happened to bump into Rosa-san as she returned. I then told Goda-san about that. I figured it was probably a servant's responsibility to welcome in a guest. Goda asked if he should bring a towel, but Rosa refused. She quickly headed up to the second floor. At this point, Erika, Goda, and Nanjo gathered together and decided to have a drink. Their alibis in the lounge up until 3 AM have already been proclaimed in red, so there are no problems there. Let's continue on to after 3 AM. This is Dr. Nanjo's alibi after we split up. At 3 AM, Battler-san returned, and the people in the lounge went their separate ways. Dr. Nanjo, Battler-san, and I went up to the second floor, and then said goodnight to Dr. Nanjo. At this time, of course, I put a seal on the door to the doctor's room as well. And it went unchanged until the crime was discovered. I flew out of my room at the same time as Battler-san's scream, and checked to see that the door to Dr. Nanjo's room was still sealed. Therefore, Dr. Nanjo's alibi is perfect before 1 and after 3. Nanjo has an alibi. Running out of options here. Splendid, Erica. Both your seal and your red truth are perfect. Nandra had the alibi of being with Erica until 3 AM, and he didn't leave his room after 3 AM until morning. Erica made use of the seals on the doors, and was granted red truths from Burncaster one after another. For me, demanding that Beata repeat something had been about maneuvering and tactics, but it's totally different for Erica. For her, it's like having a trump card that can make red whenever she wants. This concludes the proof of alibis for all suspects in the guest house. Any problems? I do have a problem, and that problem is, you're a bitch. Beata racked her brains to find some point to latch onto, but Erica's red had been ruthlessly perfect. There was no point she could take issue with. Beata kept thinking hard, trying to fault Erica on something, but her expression was so wrought with desperation that anyone could tell by looking. Beato's complaint is rejected. I can't sense any problems at all. It's totally pop, cute, and perfect. Alibis for all humans in the guest house have now been proven. Wait a sec, Erica. Are you trying to leave me out of this? Umineko Battler also should have had a chance to commit the crime. It's already been said in red that he didn't. Sucks for you, Battler. You can't say you did it. After all, I was in the same room as the victims all night. I'm not going to let you skip past this part while ignoring me. At that time, an arrow twisted like a golden snake and hit me. It didn't pierce through me, but it slapped me hard in the cheek like a whip. Battler-sama, your right to speak has not yet been recognized. Be warned. Ow, damn it. Yeah, I understand, Battler. And my apologies. Forgive me. Erica, you still haven't shown an alibi for Battler. Battler is the man who was sleeping alongside the victims. Shouldn't he be placed under suspicion more than anyone else? Was the crime also possible for Battler, who was in the guest house? Beato's right. You can't go skipping Battler like that. My apologies, I'd completely forgotten. After Battler returned at 3 AM, you went up to the second floor with him. And I believe you also went to your own room and slept. You may have gone to the cousin room at midnight, but I don't think you went there after 3 AM. Will you now claim that you went to crawl into Battler's bed later on? Wouldn't put it past her. Well, if you say you were looking at Battler's sleeping face all night long to confirm his alibi in the cousin room, then I'd accept it, right? Yes, I listened to him breathing in his sleep all night long. Got a problem with that? What? I, footed to Erica, can prove that Battler's son returned to the cousin room at 3 AM, that he went straight to bed afterwards, and that he went straight to sleep. And I can prove that until he woke up, noticed the gruesome situation the room was in, and let out a scream, nothing happened in that room. So you have no need to worry. Battler's son isn't the culprit. He's just the charming first discoverer who entered the murder scene without realizing it was one, and slept until morning. That's insane. It shouldn't be possible for you to prove that with the seals you love so much. How could you prove this? That's ridiculous. At that time, I entered the room alone. Erica probably went into her room too. How can she say something like that, as though she saw the whole thing? She never said she saw it. The room Erica was assigned to. Where was it located? Erica, please tell me. How can you prove so much about Battler? I expect no less from a true detective. My room was right next to the cousin room. There was only a single thin wall between them. You don't mean you put your ear against the wall to check what was happening in the cousin room? Yes, my ears are perfect. Right after Battler sent into the room, I put my ear against the wall and checked to make sure nothing strange happened. You said you could prove that nothing happened until Battler let out a scream the next morning. You don't mean... Yes, I put my ear against the wall and listened in on that room until morning without sleeping a wink. I'm a literal psychopath. Everyone was stunned into silence. She put her against the wall, and for the entire time until morning, she listened to what was going on in Battler's room. Just what would that have looked like? Real? I don't know. Is there CG showing this? Just what would that have looked like? Until dawn, she had killed her breathing. They should translate that differently. You don't really see that much in English, but killing your breathing is a Japanese expression. That's kind of weird in English. In a pitch black room, clinging to the wall shared with the cousin room. Like some kind of creepy venomous spider clinging to the wall of a darkened room. Burncaster alone was grinning in triumph. Due to the progression of the game, I realized that Battler, the one who would receive the head's ring, would be a key player. Got it. I was sure that Battler would be a victim of the first Twilight. Yes, so just as my master told me to do, I put my ear against the wall until morning without a wink of sleep, checking to make sure nothing unusual happened. Erica has a photographic memory, and her hearing ability is on par with a tape recorder. It would have been impossible for him to deceive Erica's ears, either to kill George and the others, or make those wounds on their throats. It was impossible for Battler to commit the crime. But again, we already had that in red anyway, they gave us that at the very start. So you could just quote the red as well. But Erica just felt like being a freak, and just did this anyway, basically. Actually, I don't... We might not have gotten the red until this had already happened in their game, actually. So maybe that's why they gave it to us. It's an accepted power of the detective's authority. I have no choice but to acknowledge it. I'll confirm it in red. Lucian and Battler returned to the cousin room at 3 AM, and I can't read the screen because you're in the way, June. Returned to the cousin room at 3 AM and fell asleep. After that, until the discovery of the crime, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary happened in the room. In other words, it was impossible for Battler to commit murder or damage the corpses. Nah, her name is Juniper. June. The red from the pair forced Bear to show an expression of considerable anguish. It was only natural. There was a truth not only guaranteed Battler's alibi, but a number of other things as well. First off, it meant the murder was impossible for anyone after 3 AM. And since the cousins were confirmed to be alive as late as midnight, the time period of the crime automatically became between midnight and 3. That meant the alibis for all people who went to the guest house before 3 had also been guaranteed automatically. It was impossible for the crime to have occurred after 3. So we can narrow that down. That one hurts a lot. After midnight, Erica was in the guest house the whole time, so it should have been difficult for her to prove alibis for all the people in the mansion. It should have been almost impossible to prove alibis for Abe and the others, but now all she has to do is prove that they never visited the guest house between midnight and 3, and she can prove those alibis. Anyway, we'll have to construct it so the murders were possible after 3 AM, and we have to prove that it was possible for one of the people in the mansion to do it. The people who had been in the guest house all had alibis. The crime didn't occur before midnight. The crime couldn't have occurred after 3. In other words, there was no way for the murders to happen unless someone from the mansion committed the crime between midnight and 3. Is it possible that someone in the mansion committed the crime between midnight and 3? In order to protect Nazi, she had to establish that it was possible for someone other than Nazi to commit the crime. Ironically, the witch had to prove that a human had committed the crime. Still, this is getting pretty difficult. Until 3, Eric was in the lounge, and you have to pass through there to reach the second floor. In other words, she's practically like a manager for the guest house's second floor, Bouncer Erica. This tactic may be a bit overused, but if it was possible for someone to go to the second floor without Erica noticing, we should be able to prove that the crime was possible for anyone. It's probably possible for a human to climb up to a second-story window if they really wanted to. Could there possibly be a way to reach the second floor without passing through the lounge Eric was in? Of course, Beato had also thought of striking back that way, and Bern Castell must have thought this as well. Battler, Nanjo, Yoda, Kumasawa, we realized that the crime was impossible for all those people in the guest house. However, what about the humans in the mansion? As I've already said, and as my master has proclaimed with the red truth, I was in the lounge on the first floor of the guest house, and to reach the second floor, one must pass through the lounge. In other words, it was impossible to reach the second floor without me seeing it. And what if that wasn't impossible? For example, what if someone placed a ladder against the outer wall of the guest house, and snuck in through a second-story window? There must be a way to reach the second floor without passing through the lounge. That way, it would be possible to reach the crime scene without you seeing it. Beato finally struck back. For now, she'd let Erica take total control and attack with the red over and over. During that time, Beato's counterattacks with the blue truth had been few in number, even including this one. Of course, I knew you'd try saying that. I couldn't have my lookout in the lounge become meaningless. So first, I must prove that my lookout was perfect. First off, because of how the guest house is constructed, it's impossible to reach the second floor without me seeing it from the lounge. There are no places under cover, nor are there any physical or mental blind spots. My master, repeat it. It is impossible for someone to reach the second floor of the guest house without anyone in the lounge noticing it. Though of course, this only refers to reaching the second floor from inside the building. Good done, my master. So next is Lady Beatrice's theory that there might be a way to reach the second floor from the outside. This really is a problem. After all, there are trees that could probably be climbed, and someone could have used a ladder. Even crawling up the rain gutter can't be ruled out as impossible. But I can't let you do that. Oh, you won't let me. And how's that? Did you stay up all night circling the guest house? No, you couldn't do that. You were in the lounge. From the lounge, you can only see a small part of the outer perimeter through the window. That's true. I couldn't prevent all methods of climbing up to the second floor from the outside. However, I was able to prevent all entry to the second floor. Prevent entry? I had already foreseen this move. How terrifying that she would be so persistent. Because of how the guest house is constructed, the windows are the only method of entry from the outside to the second floor. The locks? Not important at all. I only had to prove that none of the windows or shutters were open even once. After I witnessed the location of the hidden gold, I returned to the guest house and immediately began severing all methods of entry to the second floor of the guest house that didn't pass through the lounge. Yes, it's exactly the same. No different from the rest. Real, are you telling me there's no CG for what's about to come up? Because I know for a fact I've seen it somewhere. It's in the fighting game. What's about to come up, if this is what I'm thinking of, is like her super in the fighting game. Don't tell me. You used that seal of yours on all the windows of the guest house? In that weather? Dressed like that? Well, I did have my swimsuit from when I drifted here. You're insane. At a house where you were welcome as a guest, you did something like that in the middle of the rain? Even though nothing had happened yet? Those Umineko fans writing doji and selling them? I don't know. I don't know if Ryukishi 7 has any rules about that, actually. Let me find a thing about the windows. Okay, yeah, good. Alright, so I did find, exactly what I was looking for, actually. You get to see this animated in the fighting game with, like, her character sprite, I believe, which is also pretty cool. Maybe I'll play the fighting game in the future once I've finished, doing the VNs on stream. For a normal human, it would have been an action so suspicious as to be completely impossible. However, she is the witch's piece. In the middle of all that rain, Erica sealed all the windows from the outside to create an alibi showing that no one could have snuck into the guest house from the outside. She climbed up the wall herself and did that to all the windows on the first and second floor, and to all things that possibly could have permitted entry. Although after hearing that she listened to the cousin room all night long, without even sleeping a wink, this new bizarre action didn't seem quite so impossible. This had probably also looked like a venomous spider. A disgusting spider crawling over the outside of the guest house wall during a storm. What do you think of this Yoshimura family? Is this how you repay us for welcoming you as a guest? Yeah, you know what this feels like? It feels like one of those, like, games where if you take, like, really specific actions... Oh, you know what this feels like? It feels like one of those cheat codes to stop Eris from dying in Final Fantasy VII by doing, like, really specific stuff early on. She's, like... She really is just following a guide. And she has her, like, little tips and tricks magazine in her pocket. No, it's not a thing you can really do, but there were rumors about it a long time ago in the past. Technically, you can do it with glitches, I think. Of course. Because, you know, video games. To a detective, the Yoshimura family is nothing more or less than the stage upon which the crime occurs. Before the outbreak of the crime, it was important for me to memorize the names of the characters, memorize the layout of the land, and prepare for the upcoming crime by devoting my time towards collecting and creating all possible alibis. From my perspective, detectives who don't prepare anything before the outbreak of the crime are pretty third-rate. I don't know, Real. We've had some games where Battler kind of gets his ass kicked at the end. In fact, I'd say more games than not, Battler gets shown up at the end, and they're like, okay, let's go again next time. After all, we all know that someone will die whenever we spend the night. Wherever we spend the night. Furthermore, at the time the crime was discovered, Erica confirmed that none of those seals had been broken. That's why Erica wasn't the first one to reach the cousin room when the corpses were found. Even inspecting the corpses, she could be certain of several things thanks to the red truth. It was more important to check the seals and construct alibis. My master is perfect. All I did was prove everything perfectly by following my master's orders. Well done, Erica. My double, my peace. My pride, my joy. My baby boy, my final fantasy. What do you think, Lorne the Delta? Doesn't this prove that Erica's lookout in the lounge contains absolute reliability as far as constructing alibis? There is no way to reach the second floor without passing through the lounge. There you go. And, that certainly causes some problems. Yeah, I acknowledge it. Erica, your seal is perfect. I'll acknowledge it in red. It was impossible to reach the second floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge, and impossible to reach it at all without Erica, who was in the lounge, knowing about it. Thank you very much, Lady Lime the Delta. So you know what's coming next? Great Lady Beatrice. Therefore, the time of the crime is limited to the single hour between midnight, when they were confirmed to be alive, and 1 AM, when our party in the lounge started. Ugh. I've already said it, but at midnight, I went down to the lounge, hit it off with Dr. Nanjo, and was engrossed by a discussion of the mystery genre in the library until 1. It's a bit embarrassing, but I grew so wrapped up in that discussion that I wouldn't have noticed if anyone had passed through the corridor during that period. Quite a regretful mistake for a detective. After doing all that maneuvering and setting up seals to guarantee a perfect alibi, she became too engrossed in a mystery discussion and left it opening. Her relaxed smile was completely shameless, the total opposite of her words. It almost seems like it's the other way around. It's enough to make you think that this is an intentional trap, to make it clear to all that only Natsu didn't have an alibi between midnight and 1. In other words, it paradoxically means this: the only ones who could have reached the cousin room and committed the crime are those characters who have no alibi between midnight and 1. Her eyes clearly hinted that Natsu was the only one who fit this description. It is only possible for the crime to have occurred between midnight and 1. It should have been a crime whose time and location were completely unknown during that long night, but because of the alibis Erica had constructed, it had been limited to the time period between midnight and 1. Erica left the cousin room at midnight. That marks the class confirmation that George and the others were alive, and after the party in the lounge started at 1, it was impossible to reach the cousin room by any method. Damn her, and from a mere human. This is quite bad. The night has been sealed up into an hour. At this rate, there won't be many suspect pieces left. Damn it, Lady Bryn Castell. Nicely done. Unlike Battler, I'm not an idiot. After watching this game 5 times, I've got more than enough cards in my hand. Then let us continue. Let's examine the alibis of the remaining suspects, the people in the mansion. After all, we only have to worry about the single hour between midnight and 1. That shouldn't be difficult at all. Let's start with midnight. At this time, Natsu, Kraus, and Genji are in the second floor corridor, and all the others are in the first floor dining hall. This has already been shown by my master's red. Yeah, that's right. At midnight, Natsu, Kraus, and Genji were in the corridor in the second floor of the mansion. The rest of them were in the dining hall on the first floor. As you know, there was a mysterious knock. Oh, okay, right. So they're on a different floor corridor. So if someone threw hands in through the window, it would be downstairs, like through a different hallway. Okay. And as you know, there was a mysterious knock and a letter with the one wing seal on it appeared. The discussion surrounding that continued on until 1. I'll say it with the red truth. Of all the people in the dining hall, not one of them left the dining hall until 1. Excluding Natsu, Kraus, and Genji, none of the people in the mansion left the mansion before 1. Since the possible times of the crime had been limited to between midnight and 1, the adults in the family conference, who were confirmed not to have left the mansion between midnight and 1, all had proven alibis. And how do you intend to prove that? Eric is in the guest house. Someone prove it by using one of your favorite seals on the dining hall door. You have no convincing evidence or proof. The red truth is simply truth, and there is no need to provide evidence, proof, or room for a counter-argument. You made that rule. This overbearing red truth hadn't only given alibis to the adults in the dining hall. It also gave alibis to Shannon and Cannon, who had come to serve tea, even guaranteed that they never left the dining hall. In other words, the only ones who didn't have proven alibis were these three, Natsuki, Kraus, and Genji. No, there were only two left. If Kraus and Genji had their alibis proven, it proves that no one but Natsuki could have been the culprit. Let's do Genji next. He's the victim, but you can't deny the possibility that he committed the crime in the cousin room and then was killed himself. And furthermore, though he was in the second floor quarter at midnight, he then returned to the servant room to transfer the phone call for Natsuki and was completely isolated. Was the crime also possible for Genji, who was in the mansion? Which means it was possible for Genji to commit the... I'll say it in red. When Genji finished transferring the call, he immediately returned to the waiting room. That's just a cold, hard truth without any evidence, proof, seals, or alibis. Got it? Then at 1, there was another break in the family conference, and Rosa returned to the guest house. At that time, I'm truly thankful for your cooperation, Ushimura Eva-san. Please rise. Erika-chan wasn't the only one, okay? I was also certain that something would happen that night. She's the person who taught me how to make those seals, and she helped me to check the alibis of those people under suspicion. During the break at 1 AM, I went to Genji-san's waiting room and used the same seal as Erika-chan. In other words, if that wasn't broken, it would mean no one entered or left that room between 1 AM and the next morning. The murder of Genji is also limited to the span of midnight and 1. Oh, shit. Now, Kennen-san and Kumasawa-san, please rise. Kennen rose expressionlessly, and Kumasawa got to her feet timidly. In the morning, you two went to wake Genji-san because he'd slept in, right? And at the time, you noticed that the door was sealed, broke the seal, and opened the door, correct? Yes. I thought it was some kind of prank. I didn't think deeply about it at the time. Yeah, you get to see the tape like foreshadowed hours beforehand when they go wake Genji up. But that's so long before this, but it's just enough for you to kind of remember it and think about it, maybe. I'm not asking for your opinions, just give us the facts. Did you break the seal into the room? Yes. With the red truth, I'll guarantee that Eva, Kennen, and Kumasawa's statements just now are the truth. At 1 AM, I can't see. June, come on. Are you standing up now? Alright, you're gonna sit, okay. Well, you're gonna move back a little bit if you're gonna sit. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, okay, sure. Just lay back down if you want. I guess that's fine too, honey. Kicks? Rabbit kickies? At 1 AM, Eva sealed Genji's waiting room, and that seal was broken by Kennen and Kurosawa in the morning when the crime was discovered. This will be a pain, so I'll add on some more. During the short break at 1 AM, the first two to leave the dining hall were Rosa and Eva. Until Eva returned, everyone in the dining hall remained there. After seeing Rosa off, Eva went to the waiting room and sealed it. But I thought that they said that, the crime in the cousin's room occurred between midnight and 1. So how did Rosa leave the dining hall at 1 and get there like before 101? Maybe I got my facts mixed up. Of course, she did not enter the room at all at this time. This is all the information gathered from the people involved. It isn't a red truth without a basis. It's a truth due to proper reasoning constructed from testimony. Not only testimony, but the limits of scientific investigations, such as collecting fingerprints, were used here. After all, Kinzo-sen studies a treasure vault with all kinds of chemicals. I obtained all sorts of results to create an ultimate truth, infinitely close to a red truth. This isn't a science mystery, so I'll spare you the details. As Erika swaggered around the cathedral, she arrogantly touted her scientific knowledge. She had thorough knowledge of all the chemicals in Kinzo's study, and had used them to conduct a scientific investigation, which had now been acknowledged and made into a red truth by Bernkastel. She didn't explain the details, but she'd obtained results that were convincing even without the red truth. Collecting fingerprints with aluminum powder, component analysis of the blood under someone's shoe, and various chemical reactions from the clinging rainwater. Erika just walked into someone else's study several times, and used several chemicals however she pleased, all without asking the family's permission. However, no one could fault her for this. The pieces couldn't hinder any action the detective might take for the investigation. That's the power of the detective's authority. You act like you own the place. From now on, I'll tell everyone I meet. If someone claims to be a detective, never welcome them into your house as a guest. That's probably a good idea. Giving shelter to a detective is just about the worst unwanted misfortune out there. Because of this, it has been proven that it was only possible to reach Genji's waiting room and commit the crime between midnight and 1. And furthermore, by Erika's investigation, it has been proven that it was impossible for Genji to reach the cousin room. It has already been made clear in Red that, after transferring the phone call to Natsuki, Genji had gone straight back to the waiting room. And because of Erika's scientific investigation, further red had been added, saying Genji never left the mansion after midnight. Because of this, it's been made clear that Genji couldn't have reached the guest house, much less the cousin room. Genji has an alibi. So that just leaves Kraus. Alright, you can stop now. Thanks. Now, only Kraus and Natsuki remain. Everyone else has had their alibis proven, haven't they? Impossible. Natsuki's mouth flapped open and shot like a suffocating goldfish. And that's an accurate analogy. Natsuki's mind was blank and spinning out of control, and she felt as though she really would suffocate. Ushidami and Natsuki, I'll give you one last chance. Confess that all the crimes were the work of your husband. Fool, do I look like the kind of woman who would falsely accuse her husband? Beato, Natsuki's denied it. I'll give you the same chance. You understand, right? Or wait, don't tell me. You aren't going to take advantage of the fact that Kraus is missing to try and pull devil's proof on me, are you? Was the crime also possible for Kraus, who was in the mansion? Yeah. Beato realized that they were rapidly approaching the end of this battle. Oh, is that what this song is? Hold on. Now that you've given me that, I can actually see how far we are in. Okay, alright, I see. Okay, I see how far we are into this now. Oh my god, this is gonna go on for a while. I have no idea what song it is. It must be a Patchwork Chimera because Infant Queen Bee is not listed on the summary page for episode 5. Normally, Beato should have been able to argue against these alibis of Erika's in several ways using the blue truth. However, all of those alibis had been accepted by Burnkill Stilo and Lambda Delta as red truth. And Beato no longer had any room to argue. It's like those witches are distorting things so that they match with the plotline Erika's drawn up. That's right. If the Game Master, Lady Lambda Delta, accepts the truth, its authenticity will not be questioned. The world that comes after will be formed based on the final remaining truth. This happens no matter how far this final truth is from the real truth. There's no way Uncle Kraus is the culprit. He's being held prisoner somewhere. Wait, we can't deny the possibility that Aunt Natsu was skillfully tricked into believing that during the phone call. You suspect Natsu and Kraus, Battler-kun? Well, Erika's truth has been constructed in a cowardly fashion, but it is a proper truth. Though the witches did conspire with her, it has still been acknowledged as a red truth. In other words, it cannot be a fake truth but solely in lies. This means that even Erika's truth is supported by logic. The truth about Natsu and Kraus being culprits is also very possible. Even if it's a mixture of truth and lies, it makes sense logically. It's a mixture of truth and lies. That is just as valuable as truth is. Which of those two truths will you believe? That is up to you to decide. No, I'll trust Aunt Natsu and Uncle Kraus. I realize they're in some money trouble. But even so, I don't want to believe that they're culprits. No, I can't believe it. On this game board, where the red is steadily courting Natsu, how do you intend to let her escape? I don't know. However, I seriously don't want to give up. Natsu was just caught in a cowardly trap. Erika's reasoning has fallen for that trap completely. So whether it's intentional or she's being manipulated, Erika is aiding the true culprit. Erika has accused Aunt Natsu of being the culprit, even if everyone here believes that. In fact, for that very reason, I want to be the one person who trusts Aunt Natsu. If everyone believes it's her, will that become the truth? If everyone accepts a lie, will that become the truth? Must an honest person be dragged up to the guillotine, all alone and taunted by liars? I don't like it. If no one else will believe in Aunt Natsu, then I will. The real truth isn't something that's determined when everyone accepts it. It's something you find after thoroughly investigating both possibilities. So this trial is a downright lie. This trial exists for no reason other than to set Aunt Natsu up as the culprit. Beato was doing all she can to plead Natsu's case, right? Wrong. Beato was trying to refute Erika's argument. She's just defending. You can't fight in this trial by simply resisting all of your opponent's claims. This is why Beato always cornered me in the past. She isn't going to beat up Erica by finding flaws in her reasoning. She has to find a different truth and show Land the Delta, the commander of this game, that her truth is more correct than Erica's. Can anyone create a truth where Nazi isn't the culprit, without violating the red truth that Lady Bruncastello has shown? I don't know. But as long as I don't believe that Aunt Nazi is the culprit, there's gotta be a different truth. It's even okay if the culprit for the crime was a witch. That's better than having Nazi be framed by an incorrect truth. So no matter how much red truth you're shown, you won't believe that Nazi is the culprit, correct? Yeah, for all things, there should always be some people who believe and some who don't. No matter how much evidence is stacked up against her, someone has to believe that she's innocent. There must be several truths in the world that cannot be proven with evidence. I don't ever want to accept that something's true just because everyone says it is. How can you be so sure that there's nothing in the backside of the moon if you've never seen it? Is there some reason that you have to believe it? Until you see the back of the moon with your own eyes, you can deny neither the possibility that nothing's there at all, nor the possibility that there's a thriving culture of space bunnies. Bellor just created Toho 8. You should never assume something is the truth until you actually check it. This court is a malicious thing, trying to force a single interpretation on a truth that cannot be checked. I believe there was a civilization on the back side of the moon, but that was in elementary school, and it was made fun of and laughed at. So I thought it was embarrassing to think that a civilization lived on the moon, and I threw away that belief. I'd been told by a book my mom read that rabbits lived on the back side of the moon, so I believed that for a long, long time. But when everyone said it was wrong, I abandoned that truth without even trying to check it. Even without evidence, I abandoned the truth I believed in. And now everyone's starting to believe that Aunt Nazi is the culprit. Even though no decisive evidence has been shown. Even without evidence, Erica's words sound reasonable, so they're probably the truth? Is that why you're throwing away your belief that Aunt Nazi is innocent despite a lack of proof? Sounds pretty convincing to me, though. If no one else will believe, then I will. I believe the real truth only appears if you look with both eyes, one denying and one affirming. No matter how much she tries to make us believe that Aunt Nazi is the culprit, I believe she isn't. I want to abandon that belief. Understood. Then I will give you just a single red truth. I will give this single bit of power to you, now that you possess the will to fight in the truest sense. All in all. Power? By the name of the finite witch Virgilia. No. As the former witch Beatrice, I will grant you this red truth. Ushima Natsuhi is not the culprit. A plea bargain. If you acknowledge that Kraus is the culprit, Erica will suspend her pursuit of Natsuhi. From then on, the investigation will proceed, assuming that Kraus, whose location is unknown, is the culprit. What do you do, Beato? At this rate, Natsuhi is in serious trouble, right? Will you accept the plea bargain? If you're willing to abandon this Ushima family honor thing, Baron will be kind enough to let you get off with a draw, okay? Kraus is currently missing, and it's unknown whether he's alive or dead. Like Kinzo, he's no different than a cat in a box that has disappeared into the mists of the island. A cat inside a box is unfixed, and no interpretation of it can be denied. It is the root of endless interpretations, the true source of the endless witch's power. In other words, no matter how much Bruncastello claims that Kraus is the culprit, she can't make that the sole truth. In other words, the Kraus culprit theory and the witch theory can be in almost perfect balance. It would mean making the game a draw. This was cajolery, offering her a second chance if she abandons the honor of the family she swore to protect, and consents to a fragment that stomps all over that honor. There's no room for false confidence. For Beato to lose is to die. In this game, she should always choose a draw unless she has an overwhelming advantage. I won't allow you to treat my husband like the culprit. My husband is the successor to the Ushimura family headship, the only person who will inherit the glory of the Ushimura family. I will never let you treat him like a criminal. Are you sure, Nazi? If you refuse to suspect Kraus, then you'll be the only one left. Alibis have been proven for everyone else. In other words, Hempel's Raven. Even without any evidence, it'll be determined that you're the culprit. And if I'm the only one left, what then? I am Ushima Nazi. I will not run or hide. I am innocent, and I am the representative of the noble head, with a one-winged eagle engraved onto my head, onto my heart. Okay, Nazi, then you get over there and you do the deductions and the reasoning, and I don't think you're built for that. If you wish to insult me, go ahead. If you wish to ridicule me, do as you please. I'm hearing a cat vomit out in the hallway. No one can damage my honor with a mixture of truth and lies. With a dignified voice, Nazi stated her case openly before the witches above her. However, this response of hers might have been exactly what Bruncastello had intended. Nazi refuses the deal. And you, Beato? You understand, right? The innocent Nazi is specified as the culprit. Lambda will make her verdict. As soon as that happens, the illusion of the witch will be denied, and you'll disappear into the mist. You plan to let Nazi's foolish bragging drag you down to the depths of hell? Riche, you fought well. This is our chance. Convince Nazi and try to work out a compromise. Both Lady Linda Delta and Lady Byrne can still have boredom, not you as their true enemy. They probably want to have this game repeat and play some more. If they see each other willing to make a concession, you'll most likely accept it gladly and move on to the next game. If we move on to the next game, then what will happen to the Nazi of this game? The Nazi of this fragment? Now isn't the time to be worrying about that, right? Nazi is just a piece. Even if she gets removed from this game, she'll show up again in the next one. But that doesn't apply to you, my lady. I believe you know what Lady Byrne still plans for this game. It's a more realistic goal to make use of that, and aim for victory in the next game instead. Except Lady Byrne Castell's deal might be our one and only good option right now. Throw away that useless pride of yours. Neither Kasparov nor Deep Blue won every game. The person that wins more games wins in the end, right? If a witch gets too attached to a single match, a single life, a single piece, that witch dies. My apologies, but I cannot do that. I know the strength of a man who believed even though everyone said he was wrong. And I know the suffering he went through when he was forced to abandon that belief. I will not abandon Natsuhi. Why? Because if anyone else suspects Natsuhi, then someone has to believe in her. Because truth can only be found in the gap between those who serve and those who believe. Wait, where did the word serve come? Where did I get that from? I need to get checked. Between those who doubt and those who believe. I won't abandon her. Even if everyone believes that Natsu is the culprit, I will still claim that I, the witch, am the culprit. If I can't make that claim, if I can't even make that claim, my existence isn't worth anything. I cannot lose. The truth isn't something anyone gets to deny. Only when you doubt it and abandon it yourself does it disappear. Is that your answer, Bieto? Yeah, of course I refuse. Ushimina Kraus is not the culprit. Ushimina Kraus is not the culprit. So says Bieto. A lot of Umineko is framed very, very differently when you know future events. It's a very, very different experience reading through a second time, or third time. Cool. I won't let you take that back, okay? Here's what you get for being a quick-tempered moron. By the name of Byrne Castell, Witch of Miracles, I speak with the red truth. Ushimina Kraus is not the culprit, and he was killed long ago, shortly after you heard his voice over the phone. Get it? No, dear. Byrne Castell's cruel and ruthless red blade gouged Natsuhi. It was totally merciless. Natsuhi had been crushed with uncertainty, not knowing whether Kraus was alive or dead, but she had still been capable of believing that he was alive. And now that hope, that expectation, had been crushed without any chance for a miracle. Oh, it even updates immediately. Wow, I love that. She'd thrown herself into this trap out of concern for her husband's safety. She'd now lost her daughter and husband, and everything she had gained since marrying into the Ushimina family. No, even after all this, one thing still remains. If her husband had been lost, then right now, she's the last person who can protect the honor of the Ushimina family. She still couldn't let it end here. Even wrapped up in so much sadness, Natsu would do all she could to protect that honor, with this final bit of strength. What do you got? Nope, it's all over. It's been determined with the red truth that none of the remaining people in the dining hall left that room until 1. In other words, alibis have already been proven for everyone except Natsuhi. Everyone in the mansion besides Natsuhi has an alibi. Now, I don't remember really, like, what arguments fall past this point, but have we already skipped over, like, accidental deaths and suicide? Have those come up at all? I'm not sure if they have. Well done, Erica and Byrne Castell. You've fully proven that the crime was impossible for everyone except Ushimina and Natsuhi. Why don't I start reading aloud from the verdict? At midnight on October 4th, 1986, the defendant, Ushimina and Natsuhi, left before the others while pretending to return to a room to sleep, and murdered George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji, one after another during the 1 hour period before 1 AM. Let me tack something on. Due to circumstantial evidence, include that murder of Kraus. Yeah, that's right. In this situation, it's unthinkable that anyone except Natsu could kill Kraus. A revision to the verdict. During the hour before 1 AM, Kraus, George, Jessica, Mario, Rosa, and Genji were killed one after another. It's only possible for any of these murders to have taken place between midnight and 1. The only person without an alibi during this time was Ushimi and Natsuhi. From this point forward, the defendant will be treated as the true culprit. Furthermore, because it has been fully proven that the crime is possible for humans, Beatrice, Endless Witch, this Court of Illusions hereby denies your existence. You'll be given a chance to plead your case, but can you prove an alibi for Natsuhi? Or can you prove that it was possible for someone other than Natsuhi? If you can do that, Natsuhi will stop at being one shade short of absolutely guilty, and the denial of your existence will be put on hold for this game. If Natsuhi had an alibi, Beatrice would have shown it long ago. In fact, wasn't the whole point of that trap to make her lose her alibi? Even if her alibi is not proven, I will believe in Natsuhi's innocence, no matter how much you try to pin your fake truth on her. I am the true culprit. Natsuhi is innocent, even without any proof. The truth is known only by the Master of the Night. On this island, Beatrice the Golden, I am Ushida Natsuhi. Now that my husband has passed away, I am the head of the Ushida family. My determination will not bend no matter how much you try to humiliate me. Why, you ask? It is because Father gave me permission to engrave the family crest of the one-winged eagle into my heart. No, he didn't, Natsuhi. How would you intend to disprove the existence of this honor with your evidence and your alibis? Oh, sorry. Denying that makes me a bad person because I'm denying magic. It's okay. Sure. I won't say it in red. I won't say it in red. Okay, fine. You cannot. The Ushida family crest engraved into my heart is immortal. Now that Natsu and Beatrice had practically been placed on the guillotine, they cried out with all the strength of their determination. However, that did nothing but bring a cold smile to Delta's face. Erica had constructed a truth that only the Delta could accept, and no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erica's. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow up everything else and become the one and only truth, even if it happened to be different from the real truth. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future. This can happen even for a mixture of truth and lies, as long as everyone acknowledges it is true. Jeez, stop howling already. I like it best when we just sob and beg for their lives when they're about to be burned at the stake. When they try and bluff like you do, it's such a killjoy. In that case, I guess I'll send you one final gift. A red truth to smash that bluff wide open. What do you mean? Stop it, Lady Bryn Castell. Hasn't it already been overwritten with the truth you wished for? That truth and Natsu should be able to coexist. Please don't defile it. Please. Natsuhi, when did Kinzo ever say it was okay for you to engrave the one-winged eagle into your heart? Those were just the words of the Kinzo from your delusions, weren't they? You know, the real Kinzo. Not once in his entire life did he ever trust you from the bottom of his heart. And not once did he ever consider letting you bear the family crest. What a bitch. When that heartless announcement was made, Kinzo stood up. Natsu, you need not listen to this. No one can defile the crest engraved in your heart. That is yours alone. Don't let your pride as the final fantasy head be forgotten forever. Natsuhi! Just shut up and disappear. You miserable delusion of Natsuhi's. How does it work in universe? In the anime, it just kind of like marquees itself across the screen, usually in a fancy way, like it curves around or something, or goes around people. So yeah, pretty much. You cannot erase me. You cannot erase my soul. Not as long as the crest is engraved into Natsuhi's heart. That's enough, you lying illusion. The real Kinzo wouldn't say that. Disappear. You, the illusion of Kinzo inside Natsuhi's mind, beautified by Natsuhi to suit her own purposes. Wah. A red flash of lightning smashed Kinzo over and over again as he screamed. Then he crumpled like a doll and sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kinzo's face. He had truly become like a wax model. And so, he would never again share kind words with Natsuhi, because he had never done so to begin with. That's right. The true Kinzo never once trusted Natsuhi during his entire life. The true Kinzo never once considered allowing Natsuhi to bear the one-winged eagle. Because of course, Kinzo had already vanished before the start of the game. The Kinzo that appears in this game is nothing more than Natsuhi's delusion. Every part of this Kinzo, who believed in Natsu and trusted her with protecting the family honor, was a phantom created by Natsu. Pitiful woman, you will now face the truth that you never gained Ushina's trust as long as he lived. She is pitiful and red. Well, Natsuhi, don't cry. Kinzo entrusted the Ushimita family to you, right? No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never even said hello, or met her gaze even once. Alright, narrator, shut up already. Natsu's cry was a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, and it echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsu could no longer stop her tears. Some last faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushimiya, as the wife to the head's representative, as the final family head, had been torn to bits. Natsu no longer had anything left. Natsu could no longer allow herself to even call herself an Ushimiya. Those difficult days, those painful days. Those days where she still gave everything she could for the family she'd married into, despite it all. The very few happy days among those. All of these flitted through her mind, one after another, and disappeared. All those once beautiful memories were then crushed by Berncastell's red truth, smashed to bits and scattered, plunged deep into her hands, and smeared red with mournful blood. It was the red of sadness and truth. That is all. Just because the crime exists as it does, this level of reasoning is possible for Fudo Erika. What do you think, everyone? And the Delta clapped. Then, a bit later, Berncasstel also clapped, looking pleased. The expressionless, watch-like figure audience followed suit, and the unshakable verdict was welcomed with a great applause. And so, the truth of this tale was decided. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor, and with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder, and the culprit is among these people. Whoa. In that case, it's conclusive, isn't it? Okay, we finally caught up. Here's like the exact lines that came before. Unless the culprit is a witch who committed murder with magic, that is. It was you. You killed George? Killed my husband? Why? Why? I didn't kill anyone. I didn't. In a panic and with a voice that was far from calm. In a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsu denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsu and said it one more time. You're the culprit. Ushima Natsu-san. Red-faced and tear-streaked, Ava walked up to Natsu and grabbed her by the collar. Then, wordlessly, she slapped Natsu's cheek. Natsu, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by the taste of iron, which she was feeling for the first time. It turned into a scuffle between Ava and Natsuhi. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Ava planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over. Give them back. Give back George and my husband. Why did you kill them? You murderer! Murderer! Okay, in that case, we'll be wrapping it up in just a bit, because I'm not doing the tea party today. I want to go out for breakfast in a half an hour. Sobbing, Ava kicked Natsu, who would fall into the ground over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop him, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Ava kicked Natsu and kicked her. Then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsu was hit with a steaming teacup and a can of black tea, whose tea leaves fell out all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up. Her cheeks slapped so many times that it started to swell. No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they worried about Ava kicking them too. It was because they thought it an appropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Natsu was the culprit. They accepted the truth Erika claimed. Everyone except. So it became a proper truth, and Natsu was designated as the proper culprit. She'd already lost the husband and daughter who might have protected her, and even Kinzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. She was now the true culprit. It was shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently, her anger still had abated. Erica patted her shoulder and made Ava take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsu from violence. It was to further humiliate Natsu, now that she'd been branded as the culprit. Natsu-san, I've solved 2 of the 3 riddles. The whodunit, and the howdunit. The final riddle, the whydunit, must always be confessed by the culprit herself. Please follow the rules of the mystery genre and confess. The whydunit refers to the motive. If this was a third-rate mystery, you would let out a high-pitched laugh about now, confess to the crime, and start telling the story of her sad past. Don't tell me you intend to make me explain that part as well. I'm not the culprit. Someone believe me. I just had my husband taken hostage, was threatened, and fell into a trap. Natsu, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze. Because it's already been resolved that Natsu was the culprit. Because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit of the tale was Natsu and had woven it that way. None of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsu's, the culprit's, final words. Natsu isn't the culprit. I am the Golden Witch, Beatrice. I am the one who commands Rakenjima's night, and whose reign since long before the time you were all still scared of the dark. Why can't you just call it my sin? Why must you suspect Natsuhi? Acknowledge me. I committed all the crimes. There's no way a human is the culprit. The illusion of the witch had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. The verdict had already been made. Everything had been decided. No one can hear you. You're a phantom, a mere illusion. Go back to being a simple portrait. You're a faint phantom of a witch, born when Kinzo shared his illusion with his relatives. That is the truth chosen by this world. So, great Lady Lambda Delta, now is the time for you to bury a ridiculous and foolish illusion that this witch claims as the truth. Goodbye, Beatrice. I made you a witch expecting that you'd either become my friend or help distract me from my boredom. And you've answered to my expectations. The second one, that is. I am a witch. Even if Lady Lambda Delta doesn't acknowledge it. I'm a witch. Oh, sure, but you wouldn't even be capable of believing that if I hadn't become your guardian in the first place. Yep, this is game over for you. You'll be buried in accordance with the rules of your game board. What happens to the losers in your game again? Beato has already shown that clearly in a previous game. You get made into a mound of living flesh before being tossed into the goat's dinner party and getting chewed to bits. Now there's a fitting end for you, Beatrice. And I did come all the way here just to hear the death cries of one as haughty as you. One by one, a massive number of goat attendants slipped out from the shadows of the pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Natsuhi, who was seated in the center, but the crowd completely enveloped her. From Beato's point of view up in the balcony, it probably looked like a huge boiling pot of goats. Heh. That's right, the contract has been like this since the beginning. Yep. Junie, please, not now. Lay down if you're gonna hunt. He just gets up and lays her right back down every time. Ooh, sleepy baby. Yep, our contract said that whenever you stopped entertaining me, you would relieve me of my boredom with your life. Strip the total witch from this woman and throw her into the pot of goats. Not the goat pot. Not the carpet. Suddenly, there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly. Let me hear some nice screams. You're the wine I've been fermenting all this time. Then perhaps refusing your request will be my final strike back at you. Yeah, I made her say it. The best screams always come from a girl who's just said some tired line like that. Paul. Beatrice. The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master. After holding her above the pot of clamoring goats, which were snorting heavily in anticipation, they threw Beato's slender body into the air. All at once, the swarming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though they would be able to forget their pain for just a short while by devouring her flesh. As she flew through the air, Beato tried to smile boldly, but it was so stiff that it seemed even more pathetic, much to bring Castell's amusement. When Beato fell into the pot, the goats caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it from themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress worked just fine. The mouths of those goats were the gateway into hell. However, Beato was too big to enter into that gateway, so they had to chew and tear her into bits small enough to fit into it. Beato let out a bold laugh. She laughed from inside the pot of goats. However, her expression was very different from the one she'd wanted. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human yelling in her death throes. Then the sea of goats parted. Which is good, but because I was getting like actual literal chills from that scene. It's so good. The owner leapt forward, slicing all the goats in her path with a single flash of her longsword. It was a clean slice, like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Delanor's sudden appearance and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing. What's this supposed to be, Delanor, Inquisitor of Heresy? My apologies, but I have something to say. There is someone who has an objection to this ruling. His name is Umineko Battler. All the goats stared at Battler. What is unsatisfactory about the court's ruling? Do you possess any new evidence or truth sufficient to request a retrial? Yeah. I get it. Delanar is offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it'd be all over. But now I fully understand how I'm supposed to fight. But because I understand how, I'm unable to fight right now. After all, I can't win by simply countering Erica's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I'll need to present a different one. And I still don't have a clue what that truth is. There is nothing that is not healed with time, and there is no truth that cannot be reached if you spend enough time searching. However, all trials have a limited time in which the truth must be decided. Therefore, a truth that cannot be reached within that limited time cannot become truth. Yeah, I know that. By now, everyone's certain that Natsuhi's the culprit, not Atsuhi. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Ava's violence will probably go unstopped, and no one is even thinking about protecting Aunt Natsuhi. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will eventually be found. And in this world, the time remaining to expose the truth is very short. It's already midnight, the game's end. The police won't come, the truth won't be revealed. Only a truth decided upon here and now will remain. Aww. Look, honey, you gotta lay back down just for a couple, or at least get out of the way, okay? I slowly stood up, walked in front of Beato, and faced Delanor. I have no plan. I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. To be fair, they're playing it up as dramatic here, and it is, but what's happening here essentially happens to Phoenix Wright in like every case like 3 times. He's put on the spot with no idea. But it matters here more because it's not as common. The red used by Erica's group is mercilessly strict. I seriously doubt that I can put together a truth where Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit without violating that red. Why the uncertain face? How pathetic. Damn it. Battler, I'll be the one to kill you. I want to keep that promise. And yet, right now, I don't have any plan at all. That's okay. In this world, there is no truth. The truth is made later on and overwrites what comes before it. Real truth doesn't exist anywhere. Now this is a splendid scenario, Delanor. It just wouldn't be interesting unless a knight appears before the princess's execution. And there's nothing better than watching heads roll before your very eyes. Erase the old piece and the unneeded player all in one go. As you wish. Glory be to the great Lady Bryn Castell. I am the head Inquisitor of Heresy, Delanor A. Knox. Step forward, Umineko Battler. Damn it, I've got nothing more to lose. If you want to see me struggle, I'll show you. The only reason Erica's theory is so strong is because of those seals. She was given red so quickly just because Land the Delta easily bought the alibis created by those seals. The seals aren't red truth. Just sticking paper in a door crack is far from perfect. There's no way something like that can prove anything with certainty. Begin, Battler. Ready to let those goats turn you into a pile of meat along with your beloved Beatrice? Oh, and I'll mix the leftovers from your precious sister into that pile. I'm just looking to see how much is left here. Okay, I see. Okay, got it. I see. Oh, breakfast is gonna be a bit late. Wouldn't that make for a wonderful stack of meat? Then we can wrap it up in a dumpling, steam it, and maybe add some soy sauce. No, the best way would be to fry them in a pan with some eggs and ketchup. Damn it. Can't we doubt the reliability of these seals of Erica's? Something like wedging some paper in a door can't create a perfect alibi. It might be that someone noticed by chance and happened to put it back in the same place. The blade of my blue truth should have slashed diagonally through Deliner's chest. However, Deliner's expression didn't budge in the slightest. There wasn't a single wound on her chest. I was wondering what you'd throw out there. This is ridiculous. You say that after what Erica's done today? You wanna say ridiculous. Look around, Brinkestelle. Allow me to explain. This is what I sealed the doors with. Did you think this was paper, Battler-san? Oh, have they not actually said that it's tape yet? Have they? Oh, wow. Erica once again held the thing that looked like brown paper. This is packing tape, and its adhesive power is extremely strong. I used scissors to make it easier to tear. Furthermore, I wrote my— oh, I forgot about this. I wrote my signature, which could not be reproduced, in 3 places. Across the tear point, across the edge between the door and the tape, and across the edge between the tape and the door frame. Therefore, it's impossible to tear it off without leaving a mark. It is impossible to reattach to— I forgot. Permission to unsheath the red key. Granted. Due to the above, the seals are guaranteed to be perfect. Miss Erica's seals were not broken by anyone, and deception is impossible. I will acknowledge Erica's seals. However, Aunt Ava's seal and Genji-san's room should be different. Ava's seal was of the same type as Miss Erica's. That is because this method of sealing was the one that Miss Erica and Ava conceived of together after dinner. Erica said something about a scientific investigation, and fished through the chemicals in grandfather's room, right? There might have been some kind of solvent in there. If you use that, you might be able to tear off the packing tape without leaving fingernail marks. Please, allow me to speak. It is impossible to tear off any of the seals by any method without leaving marks. Please, allow me to speak. There were no suspicious marks on any of the seals. Therefore, it's been proven that nothing was done to any of the seals. Repeat it. Yes, gladly. All of Erica and Ava's seals were not tampered with in any way that hindered their ability to act as seals, such as being scraped off. Damn it. Damn you using packing tape that leaves marks all over the place. Not at my mansion. Delina isn't my only enemy. There's also her subordinates, Gertrude and Cornelia. And also Erica and her master Brinkestelle. And even Lim the Delta, the one who hijacked Beato's game. Everyone in this cathedral is an enemy. That fierce rush of red immediately repelled my feeble truth. It's obvious why. I don't have any alternate truth. Even at this final stage, I have nothing. Were the seals all that you had to discuss? You promised to give everything you've got. If only I knew a truth that could prove Aunt Nazi's innocence. If I could only make a theory that weaves its way through Erica's red. Damn it, I don't know anything. Do you have any chance of winning? I left it at home. Mind if I go back and get it? I've already lost. I am prepared for my fate. I promised that I'd kill you, so I won't let anyone else do it. I'll definitely keep that promise. Liar. I'll never trust your promises again. Huh? When did I ever make a promise to you, and when was that lie? Important note. Remember this line. This line is a massive hint. Go reread the first 4 episodes with this in mind. After hearing you say that, hell might not be so bad. Kill us, Brinkestelle, land the Delta. Beato let out a shrill cry, overcome with laughter. It was a broken laugh, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Balor's words would no longer reach her ears. She kept on laughing insanely, like a broken record. Is it over? Pitiful. I truly am disappointed, Ushimi the Battler. Kill me, Dwayne, slice me in half with that red long sword of yours. Let's assume that there exists some method X that can lead someone to the 2nd floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge. Eric claims that the windows and such were sealed, but she can't prove that she sealed all possible means of entry. And there's a possibility that Eric wasn't able to seal entrance X because she couldn't find it. Noxus 3rd. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. As the detective, Miss Erica sealed all entrances. Passages that the detective cannot find are hidden passages. Therefore, there are no entrances that Miss Erica cannot find. I present the possibility that Erica's lookout in the lounge wasn't perfect. During the 2 hours Erica spent there, she really observed everything without looking away for a second. It might be possible for someone to have passed through the lounge during a small gap without at least Erica seeing them. Please, allow me to speak. Lady Erica's lookout in the lounge was perfect. There were no small gaps, nor any small bombs, nor any carelessness or times when she looked away for even a second. Please, allow me to speak. Therefore, during their entire meeting in the lounge, only Rosa went up to the second floor. But was that really Aunt Rosa herself? There's a possibility that someone disguised themselves as Aunt Rosa. Or maybe she was actually holding a large suitcase with someone hiding inside it. Nox's 10th. It is forbidden for a character to disguise themselves as another without any clues. Have they put Nox's in here yet? Oh wait, we have these, apparently. Oh my god. Okay, should I read through this now? I don't know when they added this, I guess just a bit ago. This menu doesn't work right, by the way. Look, it's like stuck sometimes. The Red Key, a weapon for emergencies, used by official inquisitive heresy belonging to Iron Maiden, Lennora's primary weapon. Unlike a normal weapon whose purpose is to cause physical damage, this special tool is known as a conceptual weapon and is used to deny the existence of concepts. Regardless of whether the target is physical, mental, or conceptual, it is impossible to use any defensive concept, such as physical barriers, mental quarantine, or conceptual inheritance, to defend against this weapon. Because the concepts themselves are denied, even the concept of resisting an attack does not exist, and it is impossible for the target to endure regardless of their stamina. Furthermore, all supernatural methods of buying time, such as teleportation, time reversal, revivals, and inheritance are impossible. Man, power scalers eat your heart out. I don't even know where this would go. I know some people in that community. Don't let them know about this. Because denials of concepts conform to verdict procedures dictated by the Great Court, all future concepts that disobey them are denied automatically. In addition, when the Red Key operates within a complete barrier, all concepts of evasion cannot be successful. Defense is impossible. Evasion is impossible. Buying time is impossible. This ultimate conceptual weapon is the embodiment of these three impossibilities. I love this description. It's really funny. I'm screenshotting this so I can have it for later. A strict investigation by the Great Court of Heaven is required for the use of the Red Key. Because of this, the very act of dispatching Delanar, who arms herself with it, is equivalent to a death sentence. In this world, Senator Lambda Delta has placed restrictions on its use and power. The Blue Key, the primary weapon used by official inquisitors of heresy belonging to Iron Maiden. Like the Red Key, it is a conceptual weapon, but instead of denying the existence of concepts, it is used to create self-doubt and force others to deny themselves. For this reason, it's called the Blue Key of Reflection in contrast with the Red Key of Judgment. Unlike the Red Key, it is possible to invade and defend against it. However, while the Red Key has severe restrictions regarding how it can be used, the Blue Key can be wielded with great ease and manipulated at will in all situations. Furthermore, because the shapes of conceptual weapons are themselves purely conceptual, their outward appearance differs depending on the Inquisitor using them. In Delanor's case, there appears a long sword and a short sword, but some use them in the shapes of guns, the spears or guns, while others make them take shapes of phenomena such as magic or miracles. The red and blue charms used by Gertrude and Cornelia are yet another shape taken by these keys. My god. Text. Nox's 10th. It is forbidden for a character to disguise themselves as another without any clues. There have been no hints suggesting that someone had disguised themselves as Rosa. Furthermore, Erica has confirmed that she wasn't carrying any luggage large enough to hide a human in. Aunt Nazi was being threatened by someone. The uninvited, unknown guest X is the true culprit. How can you be so sure we're the only ones on this island? The true culprit is someone else. Noctis first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story. Maybe they were killed with poison and remote murder. With a strange drug that could make a cut appear on someone's neck when they die. That type of murder has a delayed effect, so even with an alibi. Noxus 4th. It is forbidden for unknown drugs or hard to understand scientific devices to be used. There's a chance that there existed a murder device X in the cousin room and Genji-san's waiting room that made a remote murder possible. But it's some secret mechanism that still hasn't been discovered, and they've literally denied small bombs. Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Purple key. Anyway, actually, that might be not far off the mark about something that I think might happen in one of the side novels that I heard about, but I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. We'll get there someday when I get to the side novels in 5 years. Anyway, there exists a culprit other than Nazi. If you want to deny that, try and repeat in red that none of the appearing characters were the culprit. Nox's 6th. It is forbidden for accident or intuition to be employed as a detective technique. You say that everyone except Aunt Nazi has an alibi? You're forgetting one person. Who's going to prove that Erica herself has an alibi? Nox's 7th. It is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. Unless she's caught red-handed, you should never be able to deny the possibility that Aunt Nazi is innocent. Can you even deny future possibilities? Like if a piece of evidence X that Eric hasn't discovered proves Nazi's innocence? Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. I love this smug face. This tale is filled with malicious lies. The tale itself has become a trap to capture Nazi. The tale should be constructed only from impartial truths. Nox's 9th. It is permitted for observers to let their own conclusions and explanations be heard. I was the culprit, so maybe I gave George anarchy and the others a selecting poison to make them die after midnight, then silently slit their throats when I returned at 3. I could have done it so quietly that Erica wouldn't hear. Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Everyone committed suicide, so there's no culprit. Shit, she's going after mine now. Please allow me to speak. All victims' deaths were homicides. Well, fuck. Erica didn't personally examine the corpses, right? It should be possible for people who aren't the detective to make a mistake when examining corpses. Please allow me to speak. Know that no examination of the corpses could have been mistaken. Yeah, they have said that the whole time, haven't they? Then maybe there were body double corpses. They prepared corpses beforehand that closely resembled the victims. Know that no corpses exist except those of characters who appeared in the story. Then how can you claim that Uncle Kraus is dead without his corpse? Doesn't that violate Nox's something or whatever? Know that the red truth is simply truth, and there is no need to provide evidence or proof. Sorry, Battle, you're kinda fucked. What the? Damn it! In the face of these insane arguments, any attempts to overturn the truth where Aunt Nazi is treated as the culprit are completely meaningless. Shall I brandish my desperate blue truths? Delina and the others' red truths knocked me down to the floor. It was getting hard to even stand back up again. Does that mean my body's telling me that I'm about to surrender? To the truth where Nazi is the culprit? The red truth is getting more and more perfect. Each time I think I can slip through a chink in their armor, Delina smacks me down with a red longsword of Nox. Beato. That's enough, Battler. Now the endless torture that torments me, no, us, will finally end. Let us fall together into the depths. Gah. I don't want to see Beato like this. Her Majesty is the ruler of the Golden Land. Her enthusiasm as my rival are completely gone. She's just a pitiful woman who's been trampled over and lost all hope, with tears streaming down her face and a tragic smile that I can't bear to look at. Does your truth no longer exist? No, I have one. Last thing. And that is a different truth, where Nazi isn't the culprit. That's not it. All I can do is prove that Nazi isn't the culprit. After that, I can't show what the real truth is at all. But even so, maybe at least you'll be saved that way. Why? I can show without a doubt that Aunt Nazi isn't the culprit. However, I cannot show a different truth. If your girl's truth is dispersed, the crime will return to darkness, and there might still be room for you to exist. Yeah, if you can do it. But if you can't show a new truth, that means you're incompetent and useless as a player. I'll have you banished from this game board for all eternity. At this point, the game master has learned the Delta, and she is there too. This probably doesn't mean losing a single game, but being banished from this game for all eternity for losing. From what the witches have said in the past, I can faintly imagine the place pieces are sent to when they're banished. It's known as the depths of oblivion, an eternal darkness that lies on the far side of an eternal oblivion, and where there is no concept of life or death. I'm going to disappear, aren't I? However, Beato will remain. As long as Beato remains, no matter how suspicious Aunt Nazi is, there will always remain space for the witch to be the culprit. In other words, room for Aunt Nazi to not be the culprit. As long as that space exists, someone will eventually expose the truth. It doesn't have to be me. Anyway, eventually someone will smash this fake truth to pieces. I understood that the time had come to abandon myself for the sake of this other person who would eventually appear, for the sake of the real truth. Well, it looks like I'll have to break my promise to kill you after all. Don't leave me as the only one alive. I'll disappear with you. Let that be your final tribute to me. I beg you, if you just do this one thing, I don't need anything else. I don't think Phoenix Wright could solve it. There's too much to it. Have you used up everything you have? I really am disappointed in you, Ushida Battler. Quickly, perform his requiem. That way, I'll have an open field in which to expose Nazi-san's sin. These guys really are interesting. Beatrice, Ushida Battler. But I've gotten tired of this. You weren't needed in our game. Do it, Dwynor. This is the end. If you still have one last bit of power, let me see you muster it now, in your last moments. It's small, but it's a sparkling red truth. The last trump card Virgilia gave me. Erica, this takes your theory back to square one. If you can, why not go ahead? Take this. Ushida Natsu is not the culprit. The red truth is simply truth, with no evidence or proof needed. This will make Dwynor stagger. Even if that's all it does, it's the first and last strike I can make. Too bad, get fucked. Noxus second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. Huh? My red truth was blown away by Dwynor's red longsword. In this court, if anyone other than witches is going to speak the red truth, they'll have to construct an appropriate proof for it. Erica has been following this procedure, right? True, Erica hadn't used the red herself, even once so far. She always had Bernkastel, a witch, repeat her statements. Your red truth isn't something you obtain for yourself. It's a supernatural truth given by a paranormal being. In other words, it isn't reasoning. It's no better than a random thought. In that case, if I have Virgilia say the same red truth, where's Virgilia? If you were to present that red truth, you must construct an appropriate argument. Can you do that? No, it's impossible. I just have the truth that Aunt Nazi isn't the culprit, without any basis or evidence. See? Real truth is a very fragile thing. Does real truth exist? And is it necessary? Even without it, the tale will continue on. Battler. Come on, Battler. Prove the red you have shown. If you cannot, this is goodbye. Then, goodbye. Sorry, Beato. Don't say that. Thanks for sticking around with me. It was such a blood-stained tale, but it was fun. This trial is now finished. Finished. Died the death, sentenced to death. Death is a great equalizer. It's okay, it showed on screen for half a frame, but I already know what it says, unless that was a different line. Scroll back? You can't even scroll back. It's like coded especially. Oh, that's stupid. You can't even see it, really. With that, the trial for the 5th game ended. The detective, Furura Erica, accused the culprit, Ushida Natsuhi. There are 3 riddles that the detective must explain. The first is the whodunit. Who is the culprit? As previously stated, it is Ushida Natsuhi. The second is the howdunit. How did they carry out the crime? During the hour between midnight on October 4th, 1986, and 1 the next day. Oh yeah, if you have the CG, sure, throw it my way. Of course, thank you. Ushima and Natsu went to the cousin room on the second floor of the guest house, and the servant waiting room on the first floor of the mansion. Should I hold off on that, or has it already been shown? Real? I'll wait for a response. There she carried out the murders. It is only possible for the crime to have taken place during that hour. Okay, so it's... Well, after this one, after what line? After the scream? Or like after this part, or what? Probably here, right? Considering the background lines up. Oh yeah, it's right here. From the sky, a massive, red longsword, even greater in size than the one Delanor held, came crashing down like a thunderbolt, piercing through Balor's heart and pinning him in place while he still stood. In that instant, Balor became a golden splash and faded away, and her former minions disappeared as well. That is some nice CG. Sure would be cool if we could see this animated, wouldn't it? Oh well. Oh well. As the heartless witches looked down on the cathedral center, laughing coldly, all that remained was Balor, with a red longsword sticking through him, and Delanor. We haven't seen him in the cape yet, so something must happen. Rest in peace, Ushida Battley. What a shame. I thought you were a more capable person than this. Gugh. Battler blew bubbles of blood, closed his eyes slowly, and died. Delanor stared on in silence, then turned on her heels when she saw his life leave him. After that, all that remained was the corpse of this sorrowful man, pierced by the sword that acted as a massive red grape marker, and lit by the faint glow let in from the cathedral skylight. And then there's the third riddle the detective must uncover. The final riddle, the why done it. Why did they commit the crime? The motive. In third-rate mysteries, there's no need to uncover this. After all, even if you don't expose the motive, the culprit will just confess it when all's said and done. However, without doubt Erica was first-rate, so she would expose even this. Natsu was being confined in the parlor, under everyone's watchful gazes. God, how much is left of this? Okay, I see. Alright. I see, okay. A bit. No way, real. No, it's not 45 minutes left of reading. Shut up. No, you're lying to me. You're lying to me. No way. No, it's not. It can't be. I'm looking at the wiki, and, like, this part after the trial has, like, 4 songs. No, so right from here, even excluding the tea parties, is 45 minutes? Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna look at that video. Oh my god. Let's see. I think he's right. I'm just looking at like tiny video thumbnail. Maybe I'm just scrubbing it over in Discord. Oh my god. So the very end of this, like, say like, hey, you've unlocked the tea parties. Probably. Okay, alright. I wouldn't stop here for the day then. God damn. I knew I shouldn't have committed to reading more. Okay, alright, fine. Whatever, fine. But why is Balor not dead here? Come on. Is he dead on the other page? No, he's still here. Ooh, jeez. Okay.